We in here probably running around finishing up some shopping and things of that nature. So, we'll keep it brief today. We just want to chop it up with the people before, Christmas, man. How you doing today, brother?
It was like everybody else was running around.
Yeah. Been running around all day myself. Even you and I talked maybe like a couple of hours ago. Didn't really know what we were going to do the show on because, no music's dropping. We're so close to Christmas. And we put out all of the lists that we spoke about on Wednesday's show.
Mm-hmm.
And a few of them seem to be going viral. Everybody has a lot to say. And I thought that, and, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. B. Dot from, Complex Media, he puts out these lists. And there's a stark difference between, I would say, our list and the list that you, myself, and the people have accumulated over the years and his list. You would think that we were in a whole different year or a whole different genre damn near. So I thought that those differences in what the mainstream media is projecting as what happened in hip hop in 2022 and what we saw happen, I figured that would be a really great topic of discussion because regardless of what people try to say and want to ignore certain media apparatuses, media actually controls the narrative, especially mainstream media. And if those things aren't spoken about and discussed, then, when it's all documented, they become the truth. As Star always says, a wise man always says that a lie unchallenged becomes the truth, right?
Very, very true.
Andrew Green with the super chat. Shout out to Andrew Green stepping in. He says, we got to get these hip hop gatekeepers out of here. We do. Hip hop is about the streets, and you and I aren't gatekeepers. It's about the people. Like, this stuff doesn't belong to us. This stuff belongs to, as they say, the culture. Shout out to Anthony Davis with the $20 super chat. He says, this Nas dissing has to stop. It's true. Not to mention that, Magic dropped maybe a week before 2022 even hit. So I get that. And you and I was talking offline. And I said, not only the Nas disrespect on this, the Black Thought disrespect is very bad. This man's rapping his ass off in 2022.
Well, I think sometimes people miss the overall point that we have been trying to convey about some of the things that have occurred with Nas. And I think one of those things that we've been trying to convey is that, well, if it can happen to him, they'll do this to anybody and people whose stature is beneath his and just try to pass it by. And it's going to be more okay because if you're going to do it to somebody who clearly has like claims on multiple levels to being the greatest MC of all time, well, then everybody else is fair game at that point.
Anyone can get it.
Anyone can get it at that point. And that's why we've always stressed saying it is like, no, not necessarily about Nas like it is because it's happening. And we have all types of, proof to life of that at this point. But
I mean, listen, man, KD3 was on B-Dot's list. And I'm going to get to his list in a second. But the fact that you don't have Nas on your top rappers of 2022, let me just go into it. I don't want to hold, the suspense too much longer. Hold on. Well, go ahead. I'll let you do your thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no. Well, not even that. It's like, it's one of those things that, and this is what I want people to pay attention to. Well, they're going to do it to Thought. And they're going to do it to Lupe. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to happen like to other MCs, and then their fan base is going to come out. You know what I'm saying? But it's the same thing. And so, like, you have to, like, kind of like, you gotta cut a foot off sometime, like to say the leg.
Matt Max with the super chat says, LOL, the funny thing is B-Dot had a list at the halfway point and had Nas on it. Wow. And then so I guess when KD3 dropped, he got off the list? That doesn't make sense. All right. This is what I was telling you.
What's the list?
Okay, this is what I'm gonna say before
I
we
figure
get
we
to the
need to
list.
maybe do a comparative analysis. Like we need to approach this maybe in a little bit more academic or case study format, because what Nas and what happened to Nas like through the media is also like a great case study. Like
Right.
it's true, but it's also great case study stuff. So maybe we need to do a comparative analysis of his list as opposed to our list created with the help of the following here at According to Hip Hop, and kind of maybe like get to the crux of where like we're having some differentiating points at.
Of course. And you know what? And before we get to that, I want to say what I was just telling you offline. I think that, when the Source magazine was around and was at its height of credibility, I feel like the records that got held high, they deserve that. It was a real analysis on who made the dopest record. For the most part, you had some favoritism here and there, and we have seen like the East Coast bias when it comes to the 5 mics per se, but everyone else could get 4.5 or 4. But still, we saw that we knew the records that were really getting held high, and it wasn't about who was hot. I think once hip hop really crossed over on a real commercial level, everything that made lists and everything that made fanfare was like whoever was hot at the time, or whatever song was banging at the time, or whatever, or whoever had the popularity. I think we're getting to a point now in hip hop. Hold on, that's making hella noise, Coop.
My bad.
I think we're getting at a point now where hip hop publications and hip hop media needs to actually credentialize the albums based on quality and not about who's hot, who is getting thrown into the mainstream. Like, and no disrespect to people like Glorilla or whatever. I mean, we could kind of see those things for what they are. You got a catchy, trendy song on TikTok, whatever. Cool, you know what I mean? But that doesn't make you a top rapper in a year where people made full projects and full bodies of work. And I think that there's so much out there now from the top 4 albums specifically that we mentioned in a KD3, a Cheat Codes, a Soul Sold Separately, a No Fear of Time. These records can be broken down and talked about in length. You know what I mean? And really analyzed. And I think that those are the ones that are going to get the adulation that they should. I think we're at that point in hip hop where no matter what the age is or whatever the generation is, because what I'm seeing when I posted a lot of our lists, some people are saying things like, okay, well, this is a mature hip hop list, or or hip hop needs to be split into, I guess, 2 genres where it's like the mature hip hop and everything else, and it's like, no. It's about quality. A 21-year-old could go out there and make a quality album. I mean, Big Boy and Andre were 23 years old when they made Aquemini. It can happen. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that the older MCs who are out here making quality work need to be discarded because the younger motherfuckers ain't making that level of quality, and vice versa. If a younger MC is making quality, they shouldn't be out there discarded when a legendary MC makes some mid. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we're at a place now in hip hop media where we can balance this whole thing out. We can have a discussion about JID's album in the same way that we have a discussion about Black Thought's album. And we're not going to give Black Thought credence because he's a vet. We're going to look at it for the work that is on that album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Saying all that to say, King Haya says, Galvin Headspace album review. When's she the GOAT? We still got to get on. It's so much music out there. So much music out there. All right. Well, that was enough of my rant. Let me get to B-Dot's list. Ooh, got a whole bunch of them up here. Let me get to the first one I want to get to. No, not that one. Boom. Let's go to this top 10 best rappers of 2022. He has the gold medalist going to Pusha T. He has the second place person going with Gucci Mane. J. Cole's number 3, top 10 best rapper of 2022. Kendrick Lamar is 4. J.I.D. is 5. 21 Savage is 6. Kodak Black 7. Drake at number 8, Ransom at number 9, and Lil Wayne at 10. I think one of the main differences between our list and his list is we had a caveat that you actually had to put out an album in this year, and I would say Cole, let's see, and Wayne didn't put out an album this year. Yeah, that's one of the main differences there. Let me get to the super chats real quick. Alka Beelan says, "Y'all list is out of touch too. Though, where's Mac and Mega on y'all list?" I mean, everybody can't make the list. I like Cormega's project, but I mean, you want to see our list? I mean, we're out of touch. Let's see. Let me go to our list real quick. Just in comparative analysis, like you said. Here's our list. We got Nas at number 1. We got Black Thought at number 2. Freddie Gibbs at number 3. Talib Kweli at number 4. Ransom at 5. Shay Noir at 6. Lupe Fiasco at 7. Benny the Butcher at 8. JID at 9. And Pusha T at 10. Who would you like to see removed for Mac or Cormega out of this 10? Is what I would ask. Peter Parks with the super chat says, the gatekeepers think that they're bigger than the culture. I think that's a mentality. I think that whether it's the individual or the company that they work for, maybe it's just coming from the top where it's like this person has to be on the list. And, it's what it is. What say you to this list, Coop? Because I have a lot of things to say about this initial B. list.
I do too. So I think the first thing that I recognize, and this is how it exactly made me feel, I felt like I was in high school again and that this was a popularity contest and had nothing to do necessarily with quality or range or motion or emceeing or songs or album making. It literally is just, it's like, voting for your prom kings, damn near. Is how I felt about it. It's like, well, who was most popular this year? I guess I agree with you in the fact that J. Cole, as much as he's been stellar this year, and when you hear him rap, you hear somebody, I think, that had he released an album would be rivaling Nas and Black Thought, has the best MC in the game right now. Don't you think that would be your top 3 had he released an album?
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't release an album, but he is very popular still and put out a lot of heat this year without releasing an album. So although I understand it, I just don't think it's fair.
Well, I think that, kind of piggybacking on what you're saying, not to interrupt, but I think that it's kind of telling that he put Kendrick right after Cole. It's like whenever Cole's mentioned, Kendrick's mentioned. Whatever Kendrick's mentioned, Cole mentioned. So that's kind of like the popularity part of it.
Well, that's actually what I was about to say next. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say about it being a popularity contest, because I'm saying, well, you juxtapose that with what you just said, and then you go to somebody who people say sounds like Kendrick right after that, too. I just didn't like the way that looked and that felt, like after you put Cole right there. And let's just get to my elephant in the room with it. It's like, well, I don't think Kendrick deserves to be on this list, and I'm going to stand by that, because I think the difference between our list and his list is, well, we're paying attention to the quality of music and MCing going on, quite frankly. And I don't mean that like in a shady sort of way, but it's like clear. And I know Gucci released like that triple disc that I was talking about.
Yeah,
like Mark, that didn't make like any waves. That didn't make any waves really down here in the city like that, real heavy. It didn't make any wave nationwide like that. And it just seems like it's like, oh, well, you fuck with Gucci tough. Well, I fuck with Gucci tough too. But it's like, he doesn't necessarily deserve to be on this list. Cole doesn't necessarily deserve to be on this list. Kendrick doesn't deserve to be on this list. So his 2, 3, 4, like, wouldn't make mine for various reasons. One is because, well, I didn't feel like he did enough work or put out enough quality work. The other one just didn't put out an album. The quality work is there. And the last one dropped the dud, and I don't care what people say about it or feel about it. You're just paying attention to the brand name that's on the front of the bottle. And so the 2, 3, 4 should be gone. And so I'll kind of pause right there to give you an opportunity to jump in to share some of your feelings, because then I have something to say about the 6 through the 10.
I want to start at the top. Pusha T, we spoke about the
Well, I
fact
figured
that
you would cover that too, because the biggest differences between our lists is we have him at 10 and they have him at B Dot has him at 1. So
and you know, and I think B Dot actually put qualifiers down here. He said based on skill, performance, and presence, right? And so you and
what
I
does
were
presence
very,
mean?
huh?
That is so ambiguous.
Yeah, I
To
don't know
use
what presence
presence
means.
as a
That's one of those
criteria.
things. That's one of those industry terms like
Right,
relevance. You might as well put.
right.
You know, it's funny since we did that episode on relevant and talked about relevant, people stopped using that term. And I think after that whole 21 thing with Nas and stuff, people stopped using the term relevant because it makes no sense and it's just an industry made up term that they control. Who controls the relevancy and what makes someone relevant, right? But anyway,
Right.
I want to start with the Pusha T thing because as much fanfare that the mainstream is giving, it's almost dry. We almost struggled to find the best verse of Pusha's on that album. The best verse on that album comes from Malice. No Malice, excuse me, right?
Right.
And when it comes to, you know, being on a somewhat feature run or, you know, just going out there and flexing your featured skills throughout the year, we didn't get any of that from Pusha really, other than on Freddie's album, you know? And again, I think he's a usual suspect when it comes to working with, you know, Freddie and that wasn't a surprise, right?
No.
So as far as so these criteria here, skill, performance, and presence, it's hard to say that Pusha T was number one because again, the mic performances on his album were good, but they weren't like super special
I
to the
mean,
point where I would
okay.
put them ahead of
Let's
some of the special
here,
performances this year. You know what I mean?
I think here's a fair question to ask in relationship to the Pusha T album. Is Jay-Z's Neck and Wrist verse the second best verse on that album? Because if it is, how can we give him a mic performance nod when the two best verses on the album might be guest appearances?
I think that's very fair, and I
It
think
seems
that
very hard to give somebody a skill, and you know how much I'm a big fan of his.
yeah,
He's highly
me too.
skilled.
Me too. Look, I'm a huge Pusha T fan. That's why we're holding him to this standard. You know, like there's no, and you know how I talk about Daytona all the time in length. Like his verse on I want to say Santo Domingo, but what's the name of the song for real? Rick Ross.
Santeria,
Nah, the song with Rick Ross.
hard piano.
Yeah, Hard Piano. That's what it's called. Yo, his verse on there, or his second verse on the games we play, or his verse on Santeria, or his verse
his verse
on
What Would Meek Do?
yeah,
Or
what
his-
would Meek
or
do?
his-
Ain't no verses like that on this album. It's
No.
just not. You know what I'm
No.
saying? And that's not
But
me
that's-
holding him to a standard of an album and not letting that album go. It's just not. You know what I mean? I wish it were, but it's not.
Well, do you mind if we pause for a minute?
Yeah,
Because
go ahead.
here's right there is where content and subject matter begin to matter. Because and listen to what I'm saying. Well, the reason that we have KD3 so high is that we know lyrically that it's not magic, right? But when you look at the
At some
overall
points
mic
it is,
performance,
though.
it's like, well, what do you want? What do you want an MC to do? Because he does some of it all on there. And with It's Almost Dry, it's like, well, we know what he's going to do. It becomes about the level that he's going to do it at because the content and the subject matter doesn't get too diverse, really. You get what I'm saying? And that's where, like, there start becoming separations on those top levels of MCing. It's like, well, can Pusha T give you a beef?
Exactly.
Can he give you a legit? Can he give you a reminisce?
Can he give you a once a man, twice a child?
Can
you
he
know?
give you all of that on one album?
Can he give you a once a man, twice a child? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
those
that's what I'm
like that's
saying.
not
Yeah.
even that's a
It's-
record that honestly any grown man should be able to make. To have life experiences from when you're in your 40s to 30s to 20s to teens, like growing up, any great MC should be able to make a record like that.
You would think that.
Yeah.
But I told you last week at some point, I believe hip hop is very, very neverland like. It's like you want to run around with Peter Pan and the Lost Boys forever. And if you'll notice, that's one of the reasons why Nas kind of uses this whole second childhood theme over and over again, because I think it's something that he sees as prevalent in the sphere that he loves and has existed in most of his, teenage and adult life.
Yeah. Mad Max with the super chat says, if we're talking about presence, you can't argue Kodak, Cole because if Pusha and Drake and 21 because of features with K-Dot as well because he's selling out arenas. JID is cool. Nas, Glow, and Future had to be on there. Mad Max got all kind of abbreviations. Sorry if I butchered that. Let's see.
Right.
Mad Max also says, I don't know how Gucci and Wayne made it like that. I mean, because of who they are. It's a popularity contest. Like Wayne, and we talked about the work that Wayne did last year on a feature level. Way more impressive than what he did this year. He didn't really do too much this year. He's on there because of one verse, man. It seems like he's on there because of the God Did verse.
So let's get to 6 to 10 right quick, if you don't mind, unless you had like something.
Let me get to these super chats and we'll get to that. Mad Max also says,
hold on. Mike, while you're doing that, I'm gonna show people how cold it is. I'm about to go get some water out the fridge.
All right. Mad Max with the super chat says, think Freddie deserves a spot as well. Of course, Freddie deserves a spot. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, A2HH back in the house. Shout outs to Mike and Coop getting ready to enjoy a spectacular show. Yeah, we about to get it in. Going at the media once again. MC with the super chat says, no album then you don't qualify for best rapper. Yeah, I mean, you don't have. Yeah, no album you don't qualify. But go ahead.
So let's look at it. So then 6 to 10.
Okay.
Now, 6 through 8 is truly where the popularity contest lies. It's like, okay, 21 and Drake did an album together. And it's like, I get their buzz. But on a quality level, Mike, it was literally, 19 or 20 on our list?
20.
Because quality, that's where it resided. That doesn't make either one of them top 10. And what did they do Mike-wise? Like, especially in 21's case, when you hear him on Metro's album, it's like...
Exactly. That's like, all I was saying. Yeah, and I know people thought I was hating or whatever on the Drake album, whatever. No, you can hear him on this Metro album. He's a whole different person. Listen to, there's only one song I would say on Her Loss with 21 sounded like 21 to me. But
and as much and I like Kodak, Mike, and I think you do too.
I love Kodak.
And I don't necessarily have a problem with him being on this top 10. He's the only person that's not on our list that it's like, oh no, he did drop a project this year and it is Kodak and the project was good.
And we had a lot of great things to say about it. And one of the big things I remember us saying about it is the fact that he took this album on for Dolo.
Yeah, he did it by himself.
Yeah, so, similar thing with Nas or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's another thing when it comes to Nas not being on this list. He took on 17 records by himself as an MC. And I know we talk about Magic, but I think KD's mic performance is even more impressive. You know, there's no beef on Magic. There's no once a man, twice a child on Magic. Like, he did some things on there that was like,
no, yeah, that's what I mean. It's hard to look at Magic like an album. It's like very like, it's very Lost Tape-ish. Like to me, Magic is like the real Lost Tapes too, like almost like in a sense. You feel me?
Right.
Because it's like it has like a whole nother vibe to it that's not necessarily him. Like in what I would call his pure album mode. KD3 is him in like album mode, like thought process, concepts, stitching together, woven thoughts, literary devices, black empowerment messages, club bangers, coffee shop and fucking after hour spots, fucking dance bangers. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got all types of stuff on there. Like he's got a couple of records on there. This is what I mean. He's got a couple of records on there that are the type of records that Tribe used to make. That like the Roots and the Commons and Black Stars copied. Like he's got records like that on there, but he's got like his classic stuff on there, but he's got like new stuff on there, and he's got Once a Man, Twice a Child and Reminisce on there. You know what I mean?
I think what's so like dope about that is he did it by himself as an MC, because a lot of times when people get real versatile, the versatility comes in a featured appearance, right? It's like whoever you bring on, you kind of take the shape of whoever that artist is, and that's where your versatility lies. I mean, you know how much I love the game and what the game's doing. But if you look at Drillmatic, that's an example of versatility being put into place based on whoever's on the record with you. Nas was able to do this with no features and give you all this versatility. Again, I don't
Well,
think what if we want to talk about Pusha's mic performance, and I'll get back to the 21 in a second. Pusha's mic performance at the elite level that you and I feel like Pusha is at, and that he's climbing and reaching. This was the moment to show that level of KD3 versatility. I mean, I think that if you're one of the best album of the year and all of those things, that's not something that is just too far fetched to pull
can I
off. We
can I
also
ask you
know that
something?
Biggie is one of his biggest inspirations in life after death is that mark, it's that blueprint.
Can I ask you something? Do you think this was an intentional dumb down
What for
for Pusha? Because it just doesn't seem as intricate as like his bars work usually
it
is. It
probably
doesn't.
was to a degree. I mean, I think that
So to a degree, that is very like volume two, like in that degree. But
yeah,
I'll tell you what, and this is what I mean too, even for people that feel like volume two was a classic, though, it's like I always tell people, it's like, oh yeah, volume two a classic. I was like, tell me how volume two start off again.
yeah.
Okay, next. You
So
feel
with
me?
Memphis on there, is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Is that record a classic?
I like it, but
That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you if you like
I
that. I
wouldn't
asked you
say
if
it's
that
a
album.
classic, but I mean,
I mean,
I
so
like
he
it.
started off an album with a primo track with Bleak, and then went into Hard Knock Life, and then went into like the Ride or Die joint. And it's like, y'all think that's like how classic albums
Well,
start?
this is the thing about Volume Two. If you ask
I'm just asking a question.
what's the best verse on Volume Two,
It's
I'm
probably
not
nigga
sure
what nigga
the
who.
answer you would get. What's that?
It's probably nigga what nigga who.
You think so? I figured you were gonna go there. I mean, I think that's more of a style fight, honestly.
It
And
is,
when
and
it
he's
comes
winning the
to
style fight.
Jay,
It's very. I mean, but Old Dirty Bastard won a lot of style fights. Method Man wins a lot of style fights. Biggie wins a
but
lot of
that's not.
style
But
fights.
Jay's a lyricist. Like it's not supposed to be about just his
I mean, if we want
flow
to get
and how
lyrical,
fast he's
what's your
rapping.
favorite verse on Reservoir Dogs? You feel me?
Well, I think my personal favorite verse on Volume Two, the first thing I would think is like the last verse on "It's Alright," or maybe the first, but it's nothing like if we're picking the best verses from Volume One or Reasonable Doubt,
Those
and
are
you
some of the best
match
raps
those
ever.
up. You
Those
know
are
what I
some of the
mean?
best rhymes ever.
I'm saying, yeah. And so Volume Two's bar work doesn't match that. And I guess you could say the same thing with It's Almost Dry and some of the other Pusha work.
But here's the thing about it. Like, Volume Two did have big records on there. Like, Hard
Hmm.
Knock Life was really big.
Yeah.
Nigga What Nigga Who was really big. Can I Get Her? Really big. Money Cash Hoes really big.
Yeah, so the
And
so the dumbing it down method seemed to be working.
right, like where did this work for Push is what I'm saying. Like I know he got all this notoriety, but where did it really work? Is this the biggest selling album of his career? Because I don't hear anybody talking about the sales when they're calling it like the album of of his career and like the best album of the year and any of that. You hearing anybody talking about the numbers?
No. And you got to ask yourself,
That's
where's the
very
actual
problematic.
praise coming from though? Where's
Huh?
the praise coming from? Is it coming from the people or is it coming from these same
No,
clearly
it's coming from
biased
mainstream
publications?
publications.
Yeah. Clearly
Okay.
biased publications. The same publications, mind you, that would ignore a KD3 and a cheat code. LP with the super chat says Nas covered more on KD3 than Push has in his career. Damn. Mad Max with the super chat says, I don't agree with no album and you can't make the 10. If your features were that dominant and stand out, like some of Cole's, you can slide in at that number 10 spot. It's kind of an
Like
Andre
here's
3000 mentality too,
hold
and it
on.
depends on the
Here's
year, you know?
here, here's how I feel about Volume Two. Like Volume Two is really the singles that he tried to make for Volume One, but he failed at, and he hit the mark this time.
Yeah.
But as far as album records go, Mike, I think the only album cut that would make Volume One a Reasonable Doubt that's on Volume Two is a week ago. The rest of them records wouldn't make it. Like the records
I,
that aren't singles wouldn't make Volume One or a reasonable doubt, because they'd be like, it's like, okay,
it's all right to single, right?
No, it's like, okay, so coming of age 2 or imaginary players. It's like, no, stop that.
Hold on. Stop that. Imaginary players is technically a single. It's all right to single
players
too.
Is not a single.
It has a video.
It's not a single.
It has a video. It's all right a single? Because that would definitely make volume 1.
It's very sketchy. No, well, it's all right. How about this? It's all right would be all right on volume 1, but this is what I mean. He did the singles better. I mean album cuts, like the album cuts that are on volume 2. Like none of them would make Reasonable Doubt or volume 1. Like none of those album cuts are up to snuff with his previous album cuts. It's like there ain't no The Evils on volume 2.
Or volume 1, no.
There ain't no Where I'm From. No, yes there is. There's a Where I'm From.
You think Where I'm From's on the level of The Evils?
It's a brilliant street record from him. 1,000,001 Questions, brilliant street record.
Now 1,000,001's great.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. No. You Must Love Me is like You Must Love Me. The storyline is very much on par with The Evils, and so is the bar work. So I
don't think the quality of the record is though, in my opinion.
You don't like You Must Love Me?
It's cool.
It's just cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Mad Max with the super chat says, "I remember in 20."
But you like Change Clothes.
I do like Change Clothes.
It's very problematic.
It's a good time. You know what I'm saying?
Let's not even do
this. It's a fun record. Shit. Mad Max with the super chat says, "I remember in 2012 or in 13, Drake didn't drop an album, but he went on the next feature run, and at the time when I was in high school." I thought that he had top 5 year. But again, that depends on the year, Mad Max. If you have a year as full as this year, when you got people who have dropped albums like, here's our top 10, KD3, Cheat Codes, Sold Separately, No Fear of Time, that's Talib's entry. And we'll talk about Talib being on here too. Ransoms, No Rest for the Wicked. You got Shay Noir with Food for Thought. Lupe Fiasco, Drill Music in Zion, Benny and his features in Tana Talk 4, JID with the Forever Story, and Pusha T with It's Almost Dry. It's really tough to put somebody who had like 3 or 4 verses that were featured ahead of these people. You know what I mean? It's very tough to do that.
How about this? In the NBA, you have to play X amount of games to qualify for certain stuff.
Yeah. Like, now, I could see if we were in a year where only 5 really good rap albums came, then maybe.
No, not even then, because this is what I'm saying. Like, in a season, you could average 37 points a game for 41 games. You feel what I'm saying? And be leading the league in scoring. But you don't deserve the scoring title over somebody who averaged 31 points that played 78 games.
Exactly.
No.
You don't deserve
because we didn't watch you do it for 78 games.
Right. And you wrote 4 good verses.
Like, no. How much? You got to go to work. Like, you got to go to work. It's like, well, if you didn't do an album, I'm not knocking it. I love J. Cole. J. Cole is arguably, I think him and Raekwon probably did the best guest appearance work this year. So, like, kudos to both of them. But it's like,
and they'll get an award for that.
Yeah. And we probably should hand out an award at the end of the show for that because we didn't do that part of our list yet. But as far as B-Dot's list, it's like the only people that I could justify being on there, well, there are 3 of his that are on ours, and that's Pusha, Ransom, and JID, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I circle Kodak too, so it's like I can understand why he would have Kodak on his for a mass consumption list. But the Gucci thing, it's like, nah, the work's just not good enough. And I say that respectfully. Cole didn't do enough work because he didn't release an album, although everything that he did every time he touched the mic was pretty much stellar. Kendrick's album's not good. I don't care what you say. And where are his guest appearances at? Like, in history?
None. Non-existent.
Right. 21 and Drake are stars, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but when I would rather hear 21 as a guest artist on Metro than on his own album with Drake, I think we have a problem. Drake has never been somebody, I mean, it's been a minute since Drake has just made an album that's worthy, I feel like, of him being on a top 10 list as an overall artist. because we're not gonna like go to him for the bar work anyway. But the big records and the quality songs just aren't there like they used to be. So I don't think that makes sense either. And I swear I only heard two verses from Wayne this year. Didn't we only get like 2 Wayne verses this year?
I must be missing something. Let us know in the chat if we're missing something.
Yeah, what are we missing from Wayne that
Yeah.
I missed this year? That
Are they counting last year's
and I
stuff
love
for him?
Wayne, and he's been, and last year was stellar. But it's like, well, Wayne didn't even really like. I didn't even hear Wayne
Again.
like that this year.
You're gonna put 2 verses.
Am I wrong?
You're gonna put 2 verses over Magic KD3 and cheat codes. I mean,
No.
let's just keep it a buck. Black Thought's verse on No Fear of Time is better than everything Wayne's done this year. It's better than a lot of stuff that people have done.
Actually, I mean, technically, Mike, if you want to get technical, Black Thought's verse on Frequency is better than every verse everybody on his list did this year.
Well, I'm gonna pull up his verse list. We'll get to that too. Let me get to some of these super chats.
He did a
real
verse
quick.
list?
Yeah, he did. We're gonna talk about that too. J. Cole with the super chat.
I haven't
Not
even
J.
seen
Cole.
that. This is
J.
very
Short.
problematic.
I don't call. You got me calling J. Short J. Cole. J. Short with the super chat says,
Shout out to say it now.
Pusha tried to make a crossover album in an era where you don't need a crossover. Yeah, well, you don't need the crossover. The album was good, but had a weird, dated feel to me. It did, actually. Leroy Green with the super chat says, what up, guys? Volume 2 is clearly about Jay setting up his own tour, but KD3 has no Hard Knock Life or Can I Get Her? And if so, then what?
I believe Nas is going to be in Madison Square Garden in February about a whole King's Disease trilogy show. So there might have been some sort of long-term setup in play. Respectfully, Leroy.
Shout out to my man 007 with the $100 super chat. Showing love. He says, salute to A2HH. Number 1 place for fair and balanced assessments of hip-hop content. Another fantastic year and looking forward to watching the growth in 2023. And maybe we can get Cole J and a real Kendrick album. Oh, and look, another year of Nas being the king. Who eventually takes the torch?
Pause. Hold on. I think that isn't... That's the thing. Can I tell you something?
What's that?
Watching Nas be on this run that he's been on musically and quality-wise, and shout out to 007 for the big end-of-the-year super chat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Safe travels to you, too.
I've actually been thinking the same thing. It's like, well, you know, it's rare that you get to like witness what we just witnessed, and there does feel like there is some like finality to it.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It feels like there's some finality to it.
Cheers to all of it. I'm about to pour up something. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And I've sat back and wondered myself, it's like, well, who next is really going to, you know what I'm saying? Like really take this and give us like that quality music that we're looking for, like at its highest level. Like who really does have next? Like where is our next great MC coming from? Because it's like, you know, I've always found it like very like conflicting, the fact that he was able even to sneak in and pull this off. Like somebody was already supposed to kind of like be here to kind of like prevent this from happening. I think J. Cole is who comes to mind.
I was just about to say that. I want to make a bold prediction. Yeah.
I feel like Cole is like having a resurgence in a moment, and I think he's really like starting to I just feel it. You know what I mean? And
well,
it's
I think what a lot of people are missing.
He's an album away. He's an album away, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
He's an album away.
Well, I think what a lot of people are missing too is, you know, obviously the mainstream media wants us to not really acknowledge the fact that KD3 is what it is and as great as it is. But somebody like J. Cole, who's a student of the game, who kind of comes from our era of hip hop anyway, you don't think that he's looking at this Nas and Hit Boy run as an inspiration to what he's doing? Not to mention KD3, but KD2 and Magic. He's sitting around here bumping this stuff like we are, you know what I mean? And with the run that he's on, I think he's somebody who could take notes from this current Hit Boy and Nas pairing, take it and run with it. So, I mean, with all of those things in place and with him being who he is and the way he's rapping at this point, I would say if there's a torch to pass, it's his to pick up. Especially with Kendrick, dropping off the dud that he dropped after a 5-year break. And it's pretty safe to say Kendrick's not going to come right back. So I would have to say it's Cole. Because I don't see Kendrick dropping for another 2 years at least.
You really feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can wrap this up if he takes 2 years. If he takes 2 years, wrap it up.
Wrap it up, B. 36.
Yeah, he could. You understand what you just said? I'm telling you, he cannot afford to take 2 years off.
Well, okay. When people have dropped duds, right? When Nas dropped Nostradamus, what was that, 99?
Correct.
Okay. Stillmatic came in 01. When
literally 2 years later.
Yes, when Common dropped Electric Circus, that was 01, right?
That is correct.
Was that 01?
Feels that way.
Damn, because B was 05. No, that had to be 02. That was 02.
No, because Come Close is 01. Yeah, no. You're right, 01.
Was it 01?
Feels that way.
Huh. Well, yeah, B didn't come to 05. So, yeah, I mean, when people have dropped lackluster efforts, and maybe he doesn't feel like this is a lackluster effort.
No, it's 2002.
Okay, so it was 02. So 3 years. It's hard to compare.
But it was January 1st of 2002.
Oh, was it? It was damn near 2000. That's why I felt like 2001. Yeah.
Because it really was 2001.
Right, it was made in 2001. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, I disagree respectfully on the Pusha T sentiment. Pharrell production sounded modern and fresh. And if the whole album was done with him, I think we might have it up there in the top 5. Ye hurt the project. Did we talk about that last episode? Yes.
Yeah, we just echoed some of those same sentiments, but that's that's that if was a fifth, you know what I'm saying, and that woulda, shoulda, coulda, and that and all that look a who in a rubbernecking to get you.
Can I say something as a Pharrell Neptune fan?
Don't be a hater.
Even with the lackluster effort from Kanye West as a producer on this album, I felt like he just sounds better to me over Kanye production. And even though in a vacuum, yes, Pharrell's production was better, and, I think that it would have made sense for him to make the whole album, but I just don't think Pusha sounds that menacing and grimy over the Neptune's production. It's a little bit too bright, you know what I mean? I don't want to say Neptune's because it was more so
I don't agree, and I'm going to tell you the only reason that I don't agree. You know why? It's called Hell Hath No Fury. It's called Hell Hath No Fury. Yes, it is. It's called
that was the Neptunes, and this is more Pharrell.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say is that I think what really people are missing in all this is like hardcore Neptune fans that listen to Pusha T with Kanye don't understand, though, he sounded that way with the Neptunes first. It's this whole Pharrell thing that has you like shaken up because it always leaves you wanting a little bit more from it, and that's because Chad's not there.
I was going to say, there's a difference between the Neptunes and Pharrell. You know what I'm saying? Right. And yeah, of course, he can sound grimy with they got classics. They got Pussy and records like that with the
Grinding, Mr. Me Too, and Wamp Wamp.
But over Pharrell's production, I don't hear a verse like "Never trust a bitch you fall in love with a camera. She'll fuck you, fuck around and fuck the janitor. Set the parameters. You either with the pro ballers or the amateurs. He's not rapping like that on this album, man. He's
not. But what I'm saying is that the Neptunes has given him beats where he's rapped like that before. Hell Hath No Fury is the proof of that.
So what I'm saying is, even if Pharrell did this whole album, I don't think.
Yeah, it would be enough to be top 5, but it wouldn't be enough to be album of the year. That's what I think people are missing.
And even with Kanye giving him loops, like Dreaming of the Past, in my personal opinion.
You can keep that.
No, I feel you. But as far as how Pusha sounded on that track, he sounded better on that track to me than he did on everything
As
else
an
on that
MC.
album as an
You're talking about how he
MC.
sounded as an
Yeah,
MC.
and
See,
this is
that's what I mean.
on and this
Okay, and
is
so
on some
live, that
throwaway Kanye
translates.
stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, see, live that translates, but it's like, how does that translate? You know what I'm saying, to the actual album when you got it literally sitting right after Brambleton and Let the Smoker Shine the Coupe. And then it
Okay.
goes to that. It's just like, you can say that he sounds better as a rapper, but it's like, does he really? Because it's like, did you just hear what he just did on Brambleton and Let the Smoker Shine the
Now I
Coupe? It's
think
like,
those are better songs, but I think that's for different reasons. But it's like he just, I mean, just his sound. How I'm gonna say it like this: I'd rather hear Pusha over Alchemist beats based on how his voice and flow fits
no, I hear
right
you.
now than I would over Pharrell's beats. I want to hear people like Tyler over Pharrell's beats or whatever right
No,
now.
I
You know what
hear
I
you, but
mean?
that's what I'm saying. That's that whole Pharrell beat conversation versus Neptune beats.
Correct. We're not gonna get any Neptune beats though.
We're not.
You were just getting so we can't even bring that in the equation.
Why not? Did something happen? Am I unaware of something?
I mean, Pharrell's a solo act, I guess.
Is that how that goes?
I guess. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, "What would it take for someone to make an album better than Illmatic? What would the album need, and can it be done?" With all the next torchbearer talk, I mean, I think those things just happen. It could be done. I'm not wanting to say that.
Well,
Something can't be done.
here's the thing about it. Okay, so this is what I mean about how things happen too. I was reading the source's review of The Chronic. Do you want to know why The Chronic didn't get 5 mics?
What did they come up with? The features, or was it the subject
No,
matter?
they thought Little Ghetto Boy was the only track that didn't deserve to be on the album, and that's what kept it from getting 5 mics.
They were just making up stuff back then to give stuff.
They
that
were
wasn't
just
from the East
making
Coast,
up
yeah.
anything to be like, well, we can't give these content. There'll be none of that.
Unless Little Ghetto Boys was recorded
gang
in
banging and rat-a-tat-tats going on here. We got to come up with something. And
Right.
the song with probably the biggest or the second biggest message on the album, they like, well, it would be a perfect album, but there's that song with a message.
Well, Little Ghetto Boys is the reason why, and I'm
That's
still
when
on
the
the
album
fence with
becomes
this.
like an all-time classic, Mike. Is
Right.
when Little Ghetto Boy comes on. It's like, oh, they still going? Like, oh, like
Little Ghetto Boy is the reason why I put the Chronic over Doggy Style. There's nothing on Doggy Style like it. It's an X Factor record. It's one of those records that, it puts you above other albums. I feel like that about Funky Ride on Southern Playlistic. Or,
Now, I'll give you that. Now, I still think Doggy Style End to End is better. But there's no The Day the Niggas Took Over or Little Ghetto Boy on Doggy Style at all. And so I will give the Chronic some nods for social commentary and introspective black male corner tone,
Yeah, especially right after the Rodney King riots and all of that.
No, it's tumultuous time for blacks, especially blacks in LA, Watts, Compton, Inglewood, like all that. Like tumultuous time for us as a people, tumultuous time for this nation. I keep trying to, like, I don't want to get too far off topic. Like, people act like civil rights is something that happened hundreds of years ago for us. Like, it happened around the time my mother was born. Okay? You feel what I'm saying?
Still going on. Yeah.
Like, my mom is still alive and vibrant right now. Like, my mom is in Miami chilling right now. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't happen that long ago, people. It's like, so like some of the stuff and some of the tenuous nature of hip hop music, I feel like it gets castigated. And it's like, man, do you understand what we've just gone through, like, in this generation? Like, free?
I mean, and what this generation has gone through since Trayvon Martin and beyond, I think, 20 years from now, somebody could look at this era and be like, man, shit was crazy. Jay Short with the super chat says, Nas mastered his craft first. Then he built the brand. A lot of artists are out here doing it backwards. When the brand suffers, they don't have good music to fall back on. Nicki, Joey, Drake, etc.
That's the thing.
Everybody's so worried about their brand.
Music on his side. He has music on his side. That's what I mean. Is like, well, why is he still making music? Because he made Illmatic. It was written.
Well,
God's
everybody's so
son.
worried about their brand, but they got to understand what they came here for. Like, I remember Michael Jordan saying on The Last Dance, it was
Yep.
the episode
Thank
about
you.
the shoes. He was like, listen, man, my shoes don't do anything if I'm out here scoring 2 points and getting one rebound a game. Like, I'm here to play basketball. You know what I'm saying? And everything that has something to do with his brand is all about what he's able to produce on the
Well,
court.
look.
And artists don't seem to get that. It's almost like everything outside of the music, and the
Well,
music
you know,
becomes secondary.
well, let's go to the basketball analogy. It's like, well, you know, it used to be you could go to who was selling the most shoes, and it kind of lined up in order with who the best players were.
Yeah.
It's like Mike was number one, Shaq would be number two, Grant Hill and Penny would be 3 and 4. If you would look at your All NBA first team at the end of the year, it would be, well, at point guard, it'd be like, well, Penny. At shooting guard, Michael Jordan. At small forward, Grant Hill. At center, Shaquille O'Neal. You feel what I'm saying? It's like outside of the rare cases of somebody like an Akeem Olajuwon who really like was all-time great, or Tim Duncan, most of the people who were the best were the ones who shoes you buy the most. Even now, it's like, who sell the most shoes now? LeBron and KD. Well, who's been the best player for the last 10, 15 years? LeBron and KD.
Yeah.
That's why they're selling the most shoes. They're not selling the most shoes, but like Kevin Durant is not out here selling more shoes than people because he is personable and affable with the media.
Right. I mean, even when Jordan went and played baseball, like that's when Pippen's Air shoes took off. The ones with all the bubbles.
The classics.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Pippen was out here going ham on people.
Eric
Right.
Terrell with the super chat says the next Nas may not be a rapper, just like the next Jordan, who was Tiger. He played golf. Hit Boy, Hit Boy or a singer may be the next Nas, and that's when our R&B show kicks in. Mo Better with the super chat says, "What up, y'all? How's the weather in Atlanta? We up here living in -3 degree weather, by the way. Yeah, it's cold out here, man."
Well, where is he at? Because my brother's in Nashville dealing with that type of weather, but we're at about 10 degrees right here. But I think it's going to get to 7, 8 degrees like in the next hour or so if it hadn't already.
Make sure your pipes don't freeze, people. Ray Rims with the super chat says,
Follow the drip. Follow the drip.
Right. Ray Rims with the super chat says, will you brothers get a chance to review a couple of albums I suggested this year? I'm sure they'll make it on your year's ends list. Those that K albums aren't records. Oh, it said the K albums aren't records. They're diaries of today's black man. I keep hearing people talk about that on our Twitter when we didn't have him in the list. So we got to get to that as well. Let's see. I know there's some more super chats before we get onto this verse part because we got a little bit of things to cover. Nicodemus says, Jay-Z needs Alchemist, Derringer Beats, and for a new album. Not the rich Pharrell production. Griselda receives the aesthetic, and I think he's scared.
Revive.
I'm sorry.
Revive.
I'm sorry. I can't read today. Griselda revived the aesthetic, and I think he's scared. Well, this is the thing, too, from a content standpoint. You got to understand that Jay-Z not only is Jay-Z to us. It's not volume 1 anymore, right? Like, he's married to Beyonce. He is a very successful businessman, has all kind of business ties. It's only so gutter that he can get with this music stuff. Like, he can't have the content that a Griselda or West Side Gun album has.
No, he can't. But hold on, Mike. But he can make a legit. This is what I'm saying. This is where Nas and the content and the concepts start coming in. It's like Jay can't make a legit. A Death Row East. See how I've been bringing up these records? It's like, that's why people wonder why I champion Death Row East. It's like, no. You don't understand how hard it is for these other rappers to be able to do a record like that. You feel what I'm saying?
If Jay made Once a Man, Twice a Child, people would be saying it's Song of the Year.
Easy.
People would be holding it high like they held the story
Imagine
of
if
OJ.
Jay even did Get Light right now. It would be all over radio.
Yeah, if Jay made Get Light, it would be all over the place. No, you're right. I mean, to me, the story of OJ is just okay. It's not Once a Man, Twice a Child to me.
It's not beef. It's not Once a Man, Twice a Child. It ain't fucking with Reminisce.
Nah, Reminisce is hard. You know,
Reminisce
007,
hard.
shout out to him. We were on the phone the other day, man, and he was saying that Nas's last verse on Reminisce should get consideration for verse of the year. And I went back and listened to that verse. That's a great verse. That
I want
second
to talk
verse
to
on
you about
Reminisce.
some of the verse stuff because I think we need to have a verse conversation because I have a feeling how B. List is going to go. But I kind of want to have a verse conversation because here's the thing. And listen to what I'm about to say. When we call Tupac a great lyricist and talk about why, or a Chuck D, or a Ice Cube, or a Scarface, and then we include verses like Kendrick's verse and Lupe's verse who people aren't reciting, I think we need to like start having a conversation about like, well, there's technical that people recite, and then there's technical that it's like really doesn't see the light. You feel me?
Okay.
And it's like, I don't know how some of that, and I kind of want to have that conversation because with the WTF SMH verse, that's what I meant. It's like, well, that's more of a Tupac verse than it is like a 96 Nas verse. And it's like, well, Black Thought and Talib took care of a lot of the technical stuff that you could recite and feel on better records. It's like, so when you're using Auntie Diaries and the Lupe verse, and I'm not saying that to juxtapose because I've critiqued them both this year and gotten into a Twitter beef with one of them. I'm literally saying that to say, I'm asking myself, well, who's walking around reciting these verses? Because it's like people literally have popped up on our Twitter and started reciting the WTF SMH verse because it's recitable and relatable and real.
This is the thing when it comes to that, and I'm gonna get to his list when it comes to verses, and then we'll go to ours.
I'm just asking questions to that too, because I think we just need to find our space with it.
I feel like verses to me is more of a quality conversation, and again, I'm not saying that the simplified, bar work isn't quality. How many quotables, and I'd say this is the barometer, but how many quotables in the source did Tupac get in our, while we were growing up?
I don't think he got any, which is why I don't think he's looked at as a lyricist by this culture.
He should have.
Like, I think that's the number one reason he's not looked upon as a lyricist by this culture. And I'll submit something else to you too. They didn't give Biggie one till he died. Kick in the door.
Yeah.
First one, your reign on the top was short like leprechauns. As I crush so-called Willie's thugs and Rapadons. Get in that ass quick fast like Ramadan. Yeah, that's the first time Biggie got Rhyme of the Month, if I'm not mistaken. Now think about this. They're crowning him King of New York, naming him Lyricist of the Year, Album of the Year, like this, that, and the other. All the praise in the world. Not one hip-hop quotable, though. Nas got like 7. Method Man got like 5.
Had the most. I saw Method Man in there more than anybody.
Redman got like 5. Prodigy got like 4.
Yeah.
Andre got 2 or 3 in there. You feel what I'm saying?
You're right.
Right.
MC with the super chat says the Neptunes produced a song on Wasteland in 2022. Okay. Well, good. We should get more Neptune stuff. LP with the super chat says, I find it funny how these street rappers talk all this gangsta-ish, but they be in their feelings about these lists. In the streets, they don't listen to the haters, but in real life, they cry about blogs.
No, I'm gonna You mind if I take that right quick?
Go ahead.
Artists are emotional, even if they're street or suburbs or whatever. Artists are emotional. It's like how Erykah Badu like starts off Tyrone like, I'm sensitive about my shit. Like artists are like that, like about anything. So like you can be like Tupac's another great example of that, Mike. It's like no, that's a street dude, but he's emotional and sensitive about his shit to the highest degree.
No, definitely.
Like, do you remember the scene where he's finding his stuff being bootlegged when he's in New York and he's literally like tearing it down? He's emotional.
Well, a lot of them, they put their actual heart into the craft and they put their time, effort,
and their life, and their soul, and their livelihood. Yes.
Yeah. So they put this is the hardcore people's opportunity to be vulnerable, and when they do that, they want people to accept that. And when people just kind of write it off as, I didn't really listen to it like that, people feel disrespected.
That's part of why I love Tupac so much. Tupac never really practiced any cool pose. It's like, no, if he was angry, he would be angry and tell you why. He's like, no, I'm angry. I have a right to be angry. I have some very clear, concise thoughts about why I'm angry if you'd like to listen.
Yeah. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, are the lists by A2HH, B. and others best lists or personal favorite lists? There's a difference. I don't consider my personal favorites of 2022 albums as album of the year contenders. These are lists, at least our lists. I think his list might be a little bit more personal, but our lists are just the general consensus of conversations that Coop and I have had and that we've had with you guys. And, last episode, we pretty much went through everything and we put up polls. Actually, we put up a poll yesterday between Mr. Morale and Herbert, and people picked Herbert. So,
what was the voting percentage?
Let's see. I'll pull it up right now. It wasn't a blowout, but you consider like how big Kendrick is in relation to Ab-Soul.
Ab-Soul, right? Yeah.
Let's see. All right, the percentage is Herbert 52 to Mr. Morales 48 and 600 votes. So I think that's a pretty good pool of people, right? 600 votes, 52% to 48, and you consider, like you said, like how big Kendrick is in relation to Ab-Soul. It's kind of telling. I think Ab-Soul has the better album, but that's not just us talking on our personal stuff, Jermaine. These are things that we kind of just formulated with the people. So, because I personally like a lot of the Games records, but I can't put that album of the year contention. Jay Short with the Super Chat says, the best part of the winter is watching it on TV from California. Shout out to Cali with the great weather. I got a lot of friends that are headed down to Florida right now, too, man. I'm like, fuck, why did I not think of that?
We have some bad news for Tory.
What happened?
He's found guilty.
He's found guilty?
Yeah, they just put it up in the chat.
Oh, wow. 36 Chambers with the Super Chat says, if we're only going to give going for verses with commercial notoriety, then the whole list is out of the window, since all I'm hearing outside of bars are from Her Loss. That's true. That's why I like when it comes to verses. I don't think that we lose anything for just going by quality. Now, if you have a standout Tupac, I wonder if Heaven Got a Ghetto second verse or something out there, then yeah. We'll consider that as we consider it. One's Bundy says, B Dot's list is an obvious troll. Gucci Mane? Well, see, that's the thing, too. I think that these hip-hop lists that are meant to get attention and meant to just be provocative to go out there and go viral, I think that's disrespectful to the craft. What say you? I think that I don't feel like as a culture we can move forward and elevate the culture from a technical standpoint and from a quality standpoint if people put out lists just to get attention, So that has to stop if that's the case.
Yeah, it's like if you get to a level of notoriety, where people respect your word. Mm-hmm. Or respect, what comes with your name when you put your name on a list, I do think you need to actually take the time to do your due diligence. And exactly. So I think what we find with his list is like, I'm not sure like what the parsing out of the music or the due diligence that was done as far as listening to the music, it just doesn't appear to be something that was based on quality.
Exactly.
And that's really it at the end of the day. And that's why we have Pusha T at 10 instead of 1, because it's like, well, if you kind of look at it on a quality level, it's like, does he qualify and check a lot of boxes? It's like, yeah, but is he checking more boxes than Nas or Black Thought that's here? It's like, man, what you been listening to?
Exactly. It's like, give me the Pusha T verse.
Not being funny, but he doesn't have a No Gold Teeth song or verse like any of the verses on No Gold Teeth. Like, pick a verse on No Gold Teeth, and it's better than every verse Pusha T did this year. And put No Gold Teeth on It's Almost Dry, and what you have is the best song on It's Almost Dry.
Not to mention Aquamarine. Like, give me a Pusha T
verse. That's what I'm saying. We can talk about the second best song.
Aquamarine.
We can talk about the second best song on the album. We don't even have to bring the best song on the album and play. Like, and so that's a quality conversation and disparity to me. And when it becomes a quality disparity in conversation, well, then it becomes an integrity thing, because then it's like, well, fam, what you listening to? Because like I said, this is about ears. Like, I remember when I was doing the blind tasting analogy, if we were to just strip the labels down, Like, don't tell me that if you would have heard Gucci's triple album this year and Pusha T's album this year and Kendrick's album this year, and you didn't know who, and the Drake and 21 album this year, and you never knew who they were, and you'd be like, oh yeah, these are top 10 rappers for this year. You would not say that.
It feels like this, Coop, and I agree with you 100%. If we weren't here, and I'm not just saying us, but people like us, like grassroots hip hop media, talking to the people and actually covering this stuff from a week to week basis, twice a week actually, maybe 3 times if you're on the Patreon. I feel like the mainstream media would be telling us it's almost dry and Mr. Morale was what we had in hip hop for 2022 and her loss. But that's not the reality. And I think that when it comes to, the music coming to the forefront and people actually being able to talk about the music together, they can't sit here and put those falsehoods out there anymore. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing about it is that, we live in such a numbers culture now because of social media. Like, have you seen this thing that is pretty much talking about how social media is literally like changing like sex life for the average guy, as in like, because like all the beautiful women now are like putting themselves on social media and thereby being taken by like the 1% of men, like with money and wealth and affluence, and thereby, like women, the beautiful women aren't marrying normal guys anymore because of social media, pretty much, because the guys with money and with power are coming and swooping them away before they even get you. No, seriously.
You mean the never mind. I don't want to be disrespectful. I was gonna say you mean the how do I say this? The whores. I meant to say, no, let me get another word. I was going to say the Jezebels.
All I know is that the women who seem to frequent themselves on social media.
I mean, listen, this is the thing.
But what I'm saying is that your numbers have sway in today's culture and how it moves. So when he puts out a list like this, and it's not reflective of the quality of the culture, it can, even though it might not be intentional, be detrimental to the culture because of that.
I agree with that. And I will say this, I do think that, especially after the whole conversation that him and Conway have had, or he's had with Griselda, I think a part of B. Dot's list is trolling. And, and I only say this, B. Dot, because I've seen your list. It is what it is. Like anybody, if you're really paying attention to hip hop and you work for Complex, you do shows on hip hop and you're really listening to everything and you actually have an ear for music, there's no way that you could really believe that this is the best of the year. So I have to take it as trolling. Either you're trolling or you really don't know much hip hop. One of the two. But I would like to think the latter. You know what I mean?
Right. And Mike, I was just trying to say in a nice way that, what used to be yesterday's price is not today's price. You feel what I'm saying? And so the common man can't afford some of the things that he might have been able to afford to, break a drought in a time of need. Maybe.
Well, at the end of the day, women have to understand, and not to get too far off course. If you're talking about 1%, then women have to understand that how many people do they think is going to get the 1%? Are you cool with being a young Miami out here? Maybe you are.
You know what? I can tell you about these pimps and hoes, Mike, and most of these hoes is okay with it.
Hey, man, that's your life. But see, this is the thing. When your expiration date, this is the thing, though, Coop.
What hoes do, you have to accept that to be a hoe.
But I understand that. But what they have to understand is there's an expiration date. You know what I'm saying? And when you meet your expiration date, you got to deal with everything that came with that. Hopefully you got all of your high value out of your high value years.
The flip side is literally 35 because around them they start just finding the 25-year-old version of you. So protect your neck, be prepared, have a hustle or altar plan, find a stupid ass nigga. It's like, I don't know, do what you got to do.
Again, somebody turns 25 every year. MC with the super chat says, Tupac's last verse on Me Against the World is technically brilliant. Tupac's just brilliant.
No, he's got a lot of. That's what I mean. His like, look at it like this. Why did Ambitions as a Writer get verse of the rhyme of the month from the source, the first verse? You tell me that's not a verse contender?
Yeah, I think that again, and as much as we love the Source
I ain't
growing
mad
up,
at you.
they were very East Coast biased when it came
I ain't mad
to
at you.
when it came to the technical accolades. They were very East Coast biased.
What about him on America's Most Wanted? Picture perfect. I paint a perfect picture. Bomber hoochies with intention. My
Well, the verse might not have been long enough.
To get with her. Like, what about that? They could have done him and Snoop's verse back and forth. That would have been rhyme of the month, don't you think?
I'm cool
don't you
with
think
that.
Him and Snoop had rhyme of the month at some point for that verse, that back and forth?
I feel you. I could see that. But you know
Yeah,
what? That's what we're here for.
Hold on, Mike. Dear Mama ain't get no verse of the year.
No. But again,
so many tears.
Cool. That's what we're here for. We're here to actually balance this thing out because
what about keep your head up?
As dope as the Source was back in the day, they were very East Coast biased. And we didn't see it then, but it's very evident now.
Yes, hold on. Kai is right, because my personal favorite, No More Pain. Pick a verse on No More Pain.
Love that.
Pick a verse.
Incredible
song. Now all my adversaries blast on sight and fuck your boyfriend. Bitch, I want some ass tonight. You know my Stilo, Alizé, and Cristal. We show you heard of all the freaky shit they say about me.
Shit, even some of his verses on, I think it was his last verse on How Do You Want It. He covered a lot of stuff on How Do You Want It.
How do you want to see Dolores Tucker use a motherfucker? Instead of trying to help a nigga, you destroy a brother. Worse than the others, Bill Clinton, Mr. Bob Dole. You're too old to understand the way the games go. You're lame, so I gotta hit you with the hot facts. Yeah, he's spitting.
Yeah.
He can rhyme his ass off.
Yeah. Mad Max with the super chat says, I've been following the Tory case. I need to know what he was found guilty of because they said Megan's friend shot her. Well, I'm going to get into all of that as soon as the show is over.
Yeah, we really don't do the sensationalized stuff. I just noticed about like 100 people flooded out the chat right quick when
they probably went over to Academics Live. He's having like a live party of the verdict.
Right. The real thirst be real.
Clark with the super chat says, many of these journalists on the take will be outdated a decade from now. When we investigate the Nasgate cover-up. Yeah, I mean, what's happening right now, and I'm just saying this respectfully, right? People like B-Dot with these lists, man, you're taking your credibility away, man. You have to balance this stuff out. It is not 2012 where you could just go out there and put Kendrick on the list, J. Cole on the list, Wayne on the list for 2 verses, and people are going to be cool. Like, people are going to be like, no, I actually listened to hip-hop, and there were a lot of people who actually put in real work. You can't do that anymore. Now people are going to look at you like, are you listening? Are you doing the work? Jay Short with the super chat says, like they do with the movies, I do think that there's a need to be a separate award, maybe for the club album / rapper like Gucci, Migos, Drake, etc. Yeah, but I think even when you do that kind of stuff, though, there is a level of balance that you need. You know what I'm saying? Because someone could say Biggie made more club music than Tupac did, even though they all did a little bit of both. But to be in the conversations back, in an era where we talk about the all-time greats, you basically had to be able to do it all. Now, if you want to just be a club artist or whatever, then that was Uncle Luke, 2 Live Crew, and all of that stuff. And it was dope what they did, but nobody was putting them on the all-time list because they were one-dimensional. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, to be quite frank with you, Biggie's making the records that he's making to catch up with Tupac's hit-making ability.
Right. Mad Max with the super chat says, speak for the lame dudes, Coop. Social media ain't got no effect on my game. Shout out to Mad Max. He said most of these chicks, no disrespect, they ain't all that. Just make up average guys can still bang them. Hey. without some 6-figure bag. Hey, Mad Max got the game. Shout out to Mad Max.
I'm not necessarily trying to knock your hustle. I'm just, how about this? The last time I was in Vegas, Mike, I just saw these dudes It was about a year and a half ago when I was in Vegas, and I just saw these dudes, and I was like, oh yeah, I was like, because they don't know how to shoot free throws like that to go ahead and pull that in, and and that's just the name of the game. When you in Vegas, like, no, you're not that type of shooter. You ain't never just walked in the gym and shot like that before. You had to pay for that, and like that, and that's okay. I mean,
Well,
because
sometimes you don't feel like giving out all that
judge,
effort. Sometimes you don't feel like giving all that effort. You just want to cut the check. You know what I mean? But inflation, prices just going up altogether.
This motherfucker Mike said inflation. Yo, you were funny. It's hard out there.
LP with the super chat says, how y'all feel about Benny saying that we don't want positivity in our music? In my opinion, that's an excuse made by rappers that don't have enough creativity. The way I feel about that is KD3, man. I mean, again, I think that if you're a very skilled MC, that's the level of skilled MC. And that's probably why I had the take that I had on It's Almost Dry, because I felt after Daytona, Pusha was at that level where, you know what, he's about to turn this corner and show the next level of what Pusha T's greatness is, right? And I think that that's the next level. Like, once you're able to make, I guess, positivity, for lack of a better term, sound as jamming as the gangster shit, you have reached another level. You know what I'm saying? It's basically like if we talk about an athlete, you got raw talent, raw skills, but once you get your technique down, or once you get the fundamentals down, you've taken your game to that next level. And that's what that is.
It's like when Kevin Durant dribbles the ball up the court, Mike, and he gets in that 10 to 15 foot pocket, and he starts on his left, and he goes back right, and you know it's coming, and you've seen it before, and there's absolutely nothing. There's nothing you can do.
You know who's an example of what Benny's talking about if we want to take it to sports? James Harden. All the natural talent, like he's a one-dimensional MC. Like James Harden is the
two-dimensional. Step back to the hole. Step
but
back to the hole. Step back or to the hole.
If James Harden was a rapper, he'd be the rapper that just talked about gunplay and this and that and couldn't make a good positive record.
But hold on, he won an MVP award that way.
Yeah.
You can still win MVP. You're just not going down like LeBron. You're not going down like Giannis. You're not going down
levels.
like KD.
It's levels. Yeah.
You're not even going down like Steph, because people understand Steph impacts the games in a lot of ways. How about this? It's Steph is a pretty Russell Westbrook has changed what it means for a point guard to rebound, but in relationships to other point guards outside of Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry is an all-time great rebounder for a point guard.
You know the great thing about Steph too is to be as impactful of a scorer that he is, and the greatest shooter of all time. He is so unselfish with the basketball. And those are things that impact the game in a positive way because he's not selfish with the ball. You know what I mean? He's making the right basketball play regardless of what his skill set is. Same thing with LeBron. LeBron makes the right basketball play. And that's what separates him and Steph from a lot of really, really talented players, because a lot of really talented players feel like the ball has the best chance of going in when it's in my hands, as they should feel. I mean, that's part of why they're so great. But LeBron and Steph know that, but they still also know the game enough to say, I got to make the right basketball play.
But both of those guys are point guards by nature first, too.
Yeah. But see, in this era, we got point guards that don't even think like that.
I can think of one.
It's crazy. 36 Chambers with the $20 super chat. Appreciate the love.
He's in Brooklyn.
We're not going to do this with Kyrie today. I love Kyrie.
No, they've been doing great. Kevin Durant's playing like an MVP.
And they just put up 90 in the first half on Golden State.
Sidebar right quick? You want to know what's been happening? Kyrie Irving's playing basketball like he's playing next to one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And typically when that happens, you have a chance to go to the NBA Finals. So, you should probably do
What's going on with Golden State this year? How they get 90 points put up on them in a half?
Without Kyrie.
Yeah.
I think they're just having a little championship letdown, to be quite honest.
Does that happen in the NBA? That's more of an NFL thing.
It is, but here's what I'll tell you. I mean, first of all, their core is older. I don't think Draymond and Clay have done the best job not just recently, but over a duration of the last 10 years about keeping themselves in shape during the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these young guys, quite frankly, haven't figured it all out yet and still need some more leadership and some more seasoning. And I mean, and just most notably, I mean, Steph is down, and this team was barely winning games when Steph was there. And to be honest with you, they were really, really fortunate to win the title last year. Like I swear, like nothing against Jason Tatum, but it's like, damn, if Jason Tatum would have played half as decent as he played in the Eastern Conference playoffs at all, they would have won the ring.
Jaylen Brown too.
Decent.
Jaylen Brown too.
If he would have hit 2 or 3 more shots every game, they would have won. So it's like
Jaylen Brown too. He stunk it up too. Like
Boston, he stunk it up at the end. He played well at first, but like if they would have played like themselves, like Golden State wouldn't have won. So it's like it's a game of margins and errors and who's hot. And they're just not hot right now.
36 Chambers with the $20 super chat says, Benny is correct about that. There's a reason drill has gotten so huge that the conscious rap sells less. The 24-hour negative news cycle and social media doom scrolling proves that we don't want positivity in our media. Okay, it's funny you say this because I had a conversation about this a couple of days ago. I believe in the sonic chakras in production, right? And I just think that if we're talking about, I guess, positive and negative per se, I think that we all would agree that the production on a lot more aggressive, quote unquote, negative records is a lot more hypnotizing and more attractive than a lot of the positive rappers. I think that Chris Rock said this one time, like, the conscious rappers just ain't got the beats. And I think that when you talk about Public Enemy and what their message was and how powerful their records were and how big they were and how long-lasting those songs were, the production had a lot to do with that. Shit, look at when Kanye came out with his quote-unquote positivity with College Dropout. The production was there. When he lended his production over to Talib, you got Just to Get By. These are hit records. I think that really, when you talk about the quote-unquote conscious community, it's a real production conversation. And I think that Hit Boy and Nas on KD3 kind of shows you that too. You can say whatever you want about some of the lesser skilled artists or rappers or whatever, but they make sure that the beats are on point because they know the beats got to carry them. I think a lot of our conscious MCs or the people who are super nice behind the mic feel like that the bars are going to carry them, but you need production.
Yeah. Just, I mean, I really don't, I mean, I can just echo those sentiments for the most part. I do think the media does have a part to portray in the negative tropes and archetypes that afflict Black people just in general, not just music. And so that's what we just have to be at an understanding of certain things as Black people that live in this nation at this point. I think it's some of the opinion that I try to stress here is that, like, well, if you're asking if there are negative tropes and archetypes attached to like Black cultural things like hip hop music by the media, it's like, well, hell yeah, it's literally been going on. I don't know how long we've been here now. How long have we been here? That's how long it's been going on.
A few years. Yo, all right, let's keep it real, man.
How long it's been going on?
Let's keep it real. Why do people like Chief Keef's I Don't Like? It's the beat, right? In combination with the chant and the hook, it's like you just feel that shit. I don't care what hip hop you listen to. If you hear that beat drop, you're bobbing your head. That shit goes. It does. Bro, you could be a law-abiding citizen. If somebody looks at you the wrong way with a record like that on, you want to get it going. You know what I'm saying? And even if you talk about Knuck If You Buck, it's the beat, right?
Love Knuck If You Buck.
It's the beat. It's the production and I think that
unadulterated ignorance.
I think those sonics, those chakras do something. I think 3-6 and NWA tapped into those things the most. When you talk about the sonics that hit you in a certain way, we were just talking about the Chronic, and when D's Nuts hit, when that beat hits, I mean, it's different.
Different.
What is the Chronic without production? You know what I'm saying? And all of that negativity in there, yeah, it adds to it, but the production is the cornerstone of that stuff. So it's not just the negativity that's being spewed;
You
it's
know,
what
but
it's
this
being
is what I
spewed
mean too. And
over.
even, but let's be careful. Even when you're talking about the negativity on the chronic, like a lot of that is like in jest. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
a lot of them is them having fun and poking fun at some of the stuff too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when you listen to Dre Day, doesn't it make you laugh
Yeah.
sometimes? You know what I
It's a
mean?
hard record.
It is, but doesn't it make you laugh? Like, it's funny. You can tell they're being funny. You
Right.
know, the intro to the Chronic is funny.
It is.
It is.
I mean, there's a lot of comedy all throughout the Chronic.
the $20 sack pyramid.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So they're poking some fun at even like Black life in Compton, in LA, in Long Beach. You know what I mean? Like, they're having some fun with it. It's not just a bunch of niggas using the word nigga and calling the women bitches. It's not just that. There is some like dexterity to it.
Even though that happens, you know what I'm saying? That's
No.
real
There's
life
gang banging and bitches too, which is exciting at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting, man. Like if you're watching a movie and certain tracks come on in the movie, like even when LeBron did that commercial with "Welcome to the Terror Dome" in the background, like that shit's exciting when it drops.
Well, how can people like? Well, how can you like Goodfellas and Scarface and The Godfather Part 1 and 2, and then when it comes to rap music and it's like, well, that's too violent, that's too much. It's like, oh, shooting a man in the eye in the parlor is not a little rough for you, but hearing niggas and bitches is. Okay, I got it. You're a hypocrite. This country's racist. I understand.
All right, let me get through these super chats, and then we're gonna go to that verse section. I'm sorry, I've been sipping tonight, and we're feeling good on a Friday night before Christmas. Peter Parks with the super chat says, "Question: where do you guys think the shift in hip hop journalism switched era-wise?" Damn, that's a good question. For me, I'm gonna say 2020, man.
I'm gonna say the source. I'm talking about like overall. I would say David Mays.
Okay, you're talking about when the source.
Yeah.
I guess
because really, here's what happened. I mean, only reason the source even became a thing is because he came from Harvard. Dave Mays went to Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he got around some people that the average hip hop head probably didn't have access to. Access and information is so key to your comeuppance. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
that's
definitely.
where everything changed.
Especially back then with no internet.
Because before the sources comeuppance, it's like, well, the streets carried the weight of everything. It's like we knew Rakim was the man because the streets said so. There wasn't no publication saying Rakim is your number one MC this year.
Right. There wasn't no list coming out back then.
There wasn't no list.
Yeah.
It was guys like Nas that was kids. It was like, oh, Rakim was the man. Then Kane came with Ain't No Half Stepping. We thought it was going down, but then Follow the Leader dropped, and it was like, boom. That's what the streets say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But see, again, I think that back then you had to lean on quality because, again, that's what the streets say. It wasn't somebody sitting here in some big office to tell you that, okay, Jack Harlow's the next up. Nah. You know what I mean? Like, he would have never got through that street test. Eminem, he kind of skirted right through it, though.
And even if you look at even early on, and to just kind of circle back around on how your beats matter thing, I played The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick the other day. The best songs have the best beats.
Exactly.
Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Children's Story. Hey Young World. You mean the best beats on the album? The Moment I Feared.
We talk about even Reminisce Over You, Troy. Like, that beat is crazy.
It's clearly the best beat on that album.
Nigga, it's one of the best beats ever. But yes,
I mean,
on the album,
the album's full of dope ass beats.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a level.
When it comes on, you're like, that's different. That's where do you get that from?
Like if you're sitting around, like let's say Pete Rock's your friend or whatever, right? And you're sitting in the basement, you're like, man, me and CL just put together this album. He's playing you the album. When he plays you that song, you're gonna stand up like, yo, play that shit again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. When Microphone Fiend come on, that beat sound different.
It does.
When Know the Ledge come on, the beats sound different.
It's different.
When Know the Ledge come on, boom, 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 you're like, oh, what? You're like, what
Production's
is that?
Important, man.
You're like, what is that? What is that?
And that's the thing. When it comes to these rappers that I guess make negative music, they don't skip you on the production. You're gonna get production because they need that. That's their backdrop. Mad Max of the Super Chat says, drill doesn't sell more than positive rap. Drill beats are better. But most of the drill rappers ain't selling J. Cole, K. Dot, Drake, before his Future influence, etc. They were never rapping about violence. That's fair, because if you want to say that Conscious doesn't sell, what is Kendrick? Uncle Fran with the super chat says Conscious rap should ask Kanye how he made Jesus Walks. That is true. They should. And where's the Conscious MCs with the Jesus Walks? Common, we need a Jesus Walks in 24 hours. Come on. Dame with the super chat says, what's your thoughts of the premier best beat on Ab Soul? Easily one of the best beats of the year. I liked it. Did you think it was one of the best beats of the year?
Which song was it?
The last song.
Yes. I didn't know Primo did that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I thought we talked about it.
Yeah, no, I guess that is one of the better beats this year. I didn't know how to even think about it. I don't think we got time to like really dissect Herbert all the way either.
Yeah, that's the gift and the curse when it comes to coming out at the end of the year as well. Like, I hate that Herbert came out so late in the year because we're cramming everything else in that happened throughout the year and trying to digest it and can't really digest it properly. And we don't know how long it's going to live in the year because it came out in the last couple of weeks of the year. Mad Max in the super chat says Lil Durk and Pop Smoke after he died. Chief Keef are the highest selling drill artists. G Herbo as well. And these drill rappers sell like 20,000 K, and they best cap it 100. Being Durk and Dot and Cole, triple that. It's true. I mean, I guess Lil Baby don't count as a drill rapper. Mo Better with the super chat says, what teams do you guys think are going to be in the NBA Finals? I picked the LA Clippers and the Brooklyn Nets. Y'all ain't got Memphis? Memphis looking good right now. They in first place, right?
The West Coast is going to be very, very interesting. I think the Western Conference is going to be determined by injury.
Anything can happen out there.
Anything can happen out there, but I'll tell you this. Listen to what I'm saying. In a playoff series, if Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are healthy to help Nikola Jokic, that's the team that I'm afraid of. That's what I mean. Injuries are going to determine, because it's like, no, you're not telling me, and I like Memphis and I love their team, but clearly, like Jokic against them can pretty much do what he wants and will. And if Murray and Porter are healthy and show up, Memphis ain't beating Denver in those 7-game series, in my opinion.
I haven't been watching.
Healthy.
I haven't been watching
Jamal
the
Murray's
NBA
back from
like
his ACL.
that.
Jamal Murray that could go give you 50. No. I'll take him and Yoke.
I haven't been watching the NBA too much this year, but I do know that Jokic is a regular season player.
No, Mike, he has great playoff numbers. That's totally wrong.
Why does he keep losing?
Yeah, he better than Luka.
He hadn't made it as far as Luka. How can we say that?
I mean, Luka just had victim of circumstance.
Oh my goodness. Jay Short with the super chat says
every coach not gonna win no championship with Luka as a point guard.
Okay.
Watch what I say.
I'll say this. Luka will win a championship before Jokic will.
No, he won't.
Yes, he will.
No, he won't.
Jay Short with the super chat says, every culture has negativity or crime elements. Black people are the only people without organized crime. We need to stop this self-hate nonsense, acting like other cultures are perfect. Amen, sir. Black man with the super chat says, how Nas isn't on this list with Magic and KD3 done in less than a year is beyond me. It's sad that hip-hop media does this to Nas. It's very sad. Mad Max with the super chat says, and to the old heads, Biggie, Pac, DMX, etc., they wasn't positive for the most part. Biggie got lines talking about forcing himself on Virgin Mary, but y'all speak on the young cats, and your era wasn't positive too.
I haven't said anything about the young cats.
No, I don't think he's talking to us. I think he's talking to Joe. Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty balanced when it comes to this stuff. Jay Short with the super chat says, hip-hop journalists started changing in 1994 after the LA riots. They wanted the conscious rappers and the street rappers out of the limelight. Cube, KRS, Tupac, B4. Okay.
I'm going to take Denver and Brooklyn. Yeah, I'm gonna take
Denver and
Denver just
Brooklyn.
because you said something about
Denver,
Yoke.
it's not happening.
I'm gonna take Denver.
I'll take Brooklyn. I'm not comfortable with taking Memphis right now. Give me a second.
That's why I'm taking Denver.
JB was here with the super chat. Says no one ever points out that Pac goat level vocal tone, timbre, and pitch. That's where he's truly special. It's not what's written; it's how he spits it. That is true. I think Coop is very, very adamant on the fact that Pac has one of the best rap voices ever. You got him top 3.
Yeah, it's Biggie and Meth and Pop. I mean, not necessarily in that order.
It's about time says no way Luka winning before Jokic. No way in hell. I disagree.
Not a
with
chance,
y'all.
Mike. Not even a slim one.
I disagree with y'all. Let's go with this though. Let's go with his verses list. So Pusha T actually retweeted this B dot list, and I think I cut off the first verse, but it says best guest verses of 2022. And Pusha was like fire list. So this is what the list looks like. I don't know if you got it on your screen, Coop, but I got it on the screen here. J. Cole, Johnny P's Cat. Jay-Z, God Did, of course. Drake, Churchill Down. Future, Bullseye 2. Jack Harlow, Backstage Pass. Cardi B, Tomorrow 2. Big Sean, Go Off. Kodak Black, Silent Hill. Ooh, I like Silent Hill, but the bar work for Kodak ain't really special on that record like that. That one sounded like that might have been forced in. I don't know. Lil Baby.
All this sound forced in. What are you talking about?
Being nice here. Lil Baby, Sleazy Flow remix. Pusha T, Gold Rings. Lil Wayne, Just in Time. JT, Super Freaky Girl remix. 21 Savage, Thought I Was Playing. Lil Durk, Rumors. Kanye West, City of Gods. CeeLo, Catfish Blackened. French Montana, Wamp Wamp remix. Conway the Machine, Tyson versus Ali. Tyler the Creator, Cash In, Cash Out. Ransom, Last Gasp. And Pusha said, Fire List. You want to go to our verses real quick and then say something?
No, hold on. Before we go, I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
This man doesn't listen to rap albums anymore.
Yeah, I think he's in the whip listening to Luther Vandross, man. Ain't no wrong with that. I do that.
I be in the whip listening to Luther too. There's no better. No, I be doing the same thing. I love me some Luther in the morning. But you know, I've told you this, well, it's kind of our job a little bit now. And since it's our job now a little bit, we kind of owe, it's kind of like an integrity and a moral compass thing, that if you're going to do these lists and call the list respectable, that you might want to listen to all of the projects.
Yes.
Or at least most of them, or make an attempt to. And this list is just, it's lazy.
It is.
It's lazy.
And this list, it looks like, let me go down the Billboard top 200.
Let me go see what's trending and what's been hot for the year, and go see what I like from those records, and that's what I pull from. It's no.
You got to do the work.
You got to do the work.
And again,
Johnny P's Caddy's such an easy catch because it came so early. Nothing else had really floated around at its level yet when it came up. The rest of the stuff is just him obviously following trends, making people happy. This is like modern day payola.
It's easier for us to be able to put together a list because A, we talk to the people, right? And number 2,
we listen to the music.
We're actually covering the music twice a week and talking about it in length. So imagine if you're not
listen to the music though.
Right, but we have to listen to the music to do that. But imagine if you don't have to cover anything truly until the end of the year, and it's like you're cramming, you know what I mean? Like, we're literally preparing for this test every week. We're preparing for the SATs, right? And we're preparing every single week, piece by piece. Whereas at the end of the year, once it's time to get to that test, we ready. But for him, it's like the last couple of weeks before the the SATs, excuse me. He's just cramming and getting ready for the test last minute. And that's what this looks like.
When you said it, it just made me a little upset for a second, because then I thought to myself, I'm like, hold up. we have to do this 2 days a week, every week of the year, and he just got to pull up at the end of the year on us like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, he works for the corporations.
What does he do exactly? Because this list is terrible. Like, this list is terrible. Like, the MC list is more palatable. This sucks. It's not any good.
Well, he's one of the hosts on Rap Radar, and he also hosts a game show on Complex, I think.
Okay, so he needs to do those things and stop doing these lists. That's why I was asking, like, what he did. Whatever else that he's doing that's making him successful enough that people are following him about doing this list, do those things and, like, leave the list to us, because this list is, it's ashy.
It's ashy, like Puff would say. Okay, here's our rap verses of the year. We got Black Thought's verse on Aquamarine, verse 1. Johnny P's Caddy, J. Cole's verse 2. Nas, Michael, and Quincy, verse 2. Black Thought's Frequency verse, that's verse 1 on the album. I'm sorry, on the song. Talib's verse on Peppers, which is verse 2 on that record. Benny the Butcher on Blow for Blow, verse 3. Yassine Bey, Yondas, verse 2. Kendrick Lamar, Auntie's Diaries, verse 4. Lupe Fiasco, Miss Morale, verse 2. And No Malice from I Pray For You, verse 2.
I'm not, first of all, this is what a real list looks like. We need to send this list to him. Be like, this is what happens when you listen to all the music all year, sir.
Oh, man, they seen the list. It's going crazy on Twitter.
No. We need to send it to him.
Okay. The people in this chat, we got what? Over 200 people in here. Y'all make sure y'all send that list to B. It's actually on our Twitter as well. I think Twitter is the most effective way to get at journalists. I think we've been able to do that, over this duration of this podcast. So I would recommend Twitter. Mad Max with the super chat says, the Cardi verse on No Tomorrow was good. I don't know about top 20, but I'm not mad. But Wack Harlow and Drake had better verses on the Ocean joint. Yes. Now, if they put Drake's verse from the Ocean joint, I'd be cool with that.
But he probably didn't listen to it, though, Mike. That would have required him to listen to the album.
Yeah, this is true. Dame with the super chat says, if Cole links up with Hit Boy, it would be unbelievable. I would like to see that. I know you said you wanted to make some changes to the verses. Well,
I don't want to necessarily change. I want to have, like, an open discussion about it. Like, okay. Like, one thing that I've been noticing from going, like, back into the source archives is that, like, they didn't always pick, like, the most lyrical miracle rhyme. They picked the rhyme that, like, people were saying. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, Fife on Check the Rhyme.
Right.
Like, stuff like that is on there. Redman's verse from Do What You Feel off Muddy Waters. You know what I mean?
Talk about that. I'm the super lyrical individual. I be spitting through that Teflon material to blow a bit off the schedule. Yeah. But see, I think now, though, with so much music
those
out
verses.
there.
No, listen to what I'm saying, though. The Hood knew those verses, too. That was part of it. The shadowboxing verse, Mike, it made Rhyme of the Month, but we knew the verse. The whole hood knew the verse. You know what I'm saying? That was part of it. Like, that was kind of part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like AZ's verse on Life's a Bitch. It's like, no. The hood knew the verse, too. It wasn't as just lyrically inclined. It's that it was on a record, or it was recitable for some reason that it touched you. And so if we're, like, really getting to the core of it, did we miss the mark on some of these? Because are we being too technical about it? Because when I read this list, I thought to myself, well, for how Mike feels about Eminem, this list feels very technical and rapidy rap, and maybe not, like, the best verses. It feels like we technically picked the best stuff out and maybe didn't pick the stuff that people feel the most. And then from that regard, does our list, suffer because of it,
Well, this was my way of thinking, and, and we can put forth some other verses and see where it needs to fit. But my way of thinking was people who aren't really familiar with some of these verses, because it's funny, like, a lot of people, especially on our Facebook page, which has, like, over 1 million people, I'm posting some of these albums, some of these verses. Most people haven't even heard these songs, right? And so I
Right.
think that my way of thinking here, once we got these verses and how we were putting them together, is for people who've never heard any of these verses, and we're saying they're the top verses of the year, they go to those verses and play them real quick and be like, oh yeah, I see why. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And I think that now with radio not really mattering too much, there's not a lot of verses out there like what you're talking about, like a, let's just say a Scarface on, Mind Playing Tricks on Me and stuff, or like a Slick Rick on a children's story where people just quoting it because everybody's listening to different stuff now.
Right, but the best rap stuff, like, is repeatable a lot of the time, like even lyrically speaking.
No,
You
I
know what
agree
I'm
with
saying?
that. I agree with that. But I guess my question would be, what are some examples
Where
of
is it?
those in
Where is it?
2022?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just telling you because it's like a lot of people pulled up on me about like Beef and WTF SMH being left out.
Well,
And I get
I
what they're
think,
saying, but that's what I mean about it. It's like, well, when you look at what we have on there, it's the best technical verses.
I think that, and again, 007 hit me up about the reminisce thing. And when I listened to that verse, I was like, I feel you. And honestly, it's kind of what you're talking about. Reminisce is not one of those lyrical miracle type of verses. It's one of those verses where he's just basically talking about everything that we talk about, but from his perspective and what he's going through in his career. And he was saying that he's purposely rapping like 93, and the fact that the critiques don't bother him and all that stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, very profound verse, right? And I think that it fits right in that top 20 or top 10, excuse me. But it's one of those things where KD3 is so packed with so much quality, it's hard to really pull from there. We could really pull out 10 verses from that album that could probably trump some of these verses on our top 10.
What can I tell you what, though? So I'll tell you this. And I feel that way about it, too. That's what I mean. That album is very Tupac Chuck D-like with its lyrical bar work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's why I picked the WTF SMH verse after the Mike and Quincy verse because of the ending, Mike. Because it doesn't always have to be lyrical, but he's asking a very valid question about how we're treating him. But there's a deeper question to ask, community love, providing jobs. Why would you try to come for me? Why you ain't proud of Nas? Think about this. This is the greatest MC of all time speaking like this on record. That's very Tupac-like.
Yeah.
It's very Tupac-like to talk like that.
Even when he says on, once a man, twice a child, when he's like, today is the youngest you will ever be.
Can I tell you what? That sounds like a Tupac record to me. Of all the records on this album, that appears to be the most Tupac inspired. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's dropping Tupac level gems on this album. No, that is, and it's Nas
with simplified, doing it. Like,
and it's Nas doing it.
Yeah.
So the lyricism and the couplet and the literary devices that some people may not find consistently with Tupac, like record to record to record. It's like, oh no, this is Nas. That's happening. That's happening inherently because of the type of writer he is.
Yeah.
Even when he's not writing and shit.
And he's doing it 28 years in his career. It's amazing.
It's pretty. I mean, and he doesn't make B-Dot's, and he's not making B-Dot's verse list or artist list.
It's disrespectful, you know what I mean?
And
again,
it's like,
I don't want to get on that.
No, he really guys got to stop doing this in this culture to our legends. Like, you're wrong.
I agree with that, and it's like, I know people are gonna be like, it's a Nas channel. Why y'all care this, that, and the third? Anybody
he's doing it the Black Thought too. Let's talk about it. Him doing it the Thought too, because Thought's not on these lists either, and he's wrong for that too.
Wrong. And see, this is the thing. And for somebody who works in hip hop media, I mean, we're a little different. We kind of built our own, you know what I'm saying? And, but when you go out there and work for a company like a Complex who built their corporation off of the backs of hip hop, there's certain people that you owe respect to who got this genre to the place that it would be. There would be no Complex if not for people like Nas and not for people like Black Thought putting in the work that they put in.
This is
and
what
so
I mean,
to actually sit here and disregard them and the work that they've done in a calendar year and act like they don't exist is unacceptable. And that's just bottom line.
So somebody made a super chat earlier, Mike, where they're talking about, we got to stop being our own worst enemy and all this stuff goes on in other cultures. It's like, hold on, let's pause for a second. What I'm talking about right now, no, it doesn't go on. It just happens with us as black people here in America. And I get so tired of us as blacks in America not realizing that we are a one of one with some of the fuckery that we pull off. Most of that fuckery is the fuckery that we pull off on each other. This is part of it. Like Nas should be celebrated in every hip hop community that he steps in. So should KRS-One, Black Thought, Jay-Z, Rakim, LL Cool J, Cool G Rap, Big Daddy Kane. No, the carpet should be rolled out every time, because what do we have if we don't have them?
You're right. And I agree with half of what you're saying. I think that the red carpet is rolled out. But what happens is when you have these boule Negroes that work for these organizations and these corporations, they get used as the black face to go out there and do this denigrating. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure any hood that any of those people that you mentioned walk into, they get the utmost respect. And if they don't, by some youngin' or whatever, they're going to get checked. But somebody like a B-Dot and these people who are in these positions that speak to the masses from a corporate level, they seem to be the ones doing the disrespecting. And I don't think it's a reflection of the whole community. It's just a small group of, I mean, for lack of a better term, the brunch crowd. You know what I'm saying? It's always that brunch crowd that feels like they're the gatekeepers and people are going to listen to what I'm saying. And if I don't fuck with this one person, then I can just disregard them and shit on them regardless of their legacy, and everybody's going to follow suit. That's not happening.
Like, nobody, like, in relationship to this hip hop stratosphere that we exist in, like, nobody really gives a shit who B-Dot is compared to Nas. You get what I'm saying?
No.
And so the fact that people like him get to disregard Nas as part of the problem, it's like, no, you're part of the media. You're part of the red carpet rollout, not part of the detraction. And it would be different. Think about this. He's doing this while he's making some of the best music of his career. I can't imagine what it would be like if he was making something like a Nostradamus or a Streets Disciple or an Untitled In album right now. Oh, it'd be all hell. It'd be all hell. This is what's happening while he's on a great run. Like, how does Black Thought make Aquamarine and No Gold Teeth and doesn't make your list for like anything lyric?
Exactly.
Did you listen to Aquamarine and No Gold Teeth?
Exactly.
It is literally like what lyrical bar work sounds like put into good modern day format. Like, literally, it's like, what do you?
And you know, I like 21 Savage, but you got 21 Savage on the list and you ain't got Black Thought on the list. What are we doing? Seriously.
What
and this ain't even one of 21's.
No, what drug are you doing?
Right.
What drugs are you doing? Plural.
Mad Max with the super chat says.
Mix and match.
Mad Max with the super chat says you got to do a top 5 lines of the year and add that to the yearbook, or maybe 10, whatever you decide. But we need the quotables. I like that, and that's funny you say that, Mad Max. When we were quoting those Nas lines, I was thinking we might need to do like a line of the year or top 10 lines.
No, I'm cool with that, because you want to know what?
Because we listened to it all.
No, you want to know what? I like that idea, because you know what? That doesn't just benefit somebody like Nas. You know who else that benefits? And this is what I mean about there's room for everybody on the stage.
That benefits Kodak.
That benefits Stove.
Yeah, you're right. The Magic
Johnson. Benefits some of everybody. Yeah, that benefits some of everybody.
36 Chambers with the super chat says, if we're going to do verses, people are saying that, and not lyrical, miracle, and you'll have 5 verses from Her Loss or Future's first superhero verse. Yeah, the list y'all made is good, and it makes more sense for hip-hop. Okay. But yeah, I like the
quotables list idea.
I like that too, and I'm excited about that, and I think that once we put that together, that's really going to go. People are really going to have discussions about that. 36
so what
Chambers.
Are we doing? Are we doing best when we're saying quotable, most quotable verses or most quotable lines?
No, I would say like how you said with the creating jobs, like you ain't proud of that.
The
Stuff
WTF
like that.
SMH line.
You know what I mean? Like, I think those type of quotables that you could fit in one status per se. You know.
No. Heard.
Yeah.
You could put that out in a tweet.
Instagram post. Yeah.
Yeah, you put it on. You can hashtag it. Right.
Exactly. 36 Chambers with a super chat says, instead of changing the verses, y'all need a separate quotable category, like a top 10 most quotable bars. It's more work, but it makes more sense in my opinion. And then not removing the quality of the technical verses. Yeah, I guess everybody's on the same page with that. It's about damn time says, does Method Man have a good discography? That's random. Sounds like you knew the answer of that question before you asked. I think he has a great discography. I think his solo discography might not match the MC that he is overall, but if you count everything that he's done, I think he has an incredible discography.
The discography is stellar. The solo stuff is just good to above average overall. But I will tell you, Takala's aged very well.
Yeah. 36 Chambers says, by removing lyrical technical verses, we do artists a disservice who's trying to up their skill ceiling of the game. Like people like Lupe need their flowers too. It's true. I definitely agree. People who put in that type of work on their bar work definitely need their flowers.
Yeah, like you want to know what would make the quotables? The Lupe, too many rappers died.
Yeah, that's in there.
Yeah.
End of verse. Mad Max says, right. Call it caption of the year. I like it.
Quotable caption. Quotable caption of the year.
Quotable caption of the year. I got one more B-Dot list. You ready?
There's more?
There's more.
He's been very, very busy for somebody that doesn't listen to albums all the way through, Mike.
Album of the year. Album of the year. Speaking of albums.
Bad. How are we going to do album of the year when we have identified that he is probably not listening to albums, but he's doing album of the year?
Well, 2022 rap album of the year, number one, he has Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big
Who doesn't listen to
Steppers.
albums? There's the proof. We got all the proof we needed right there.
Number two, Vince Staples, Ramona Park, Broke My Heart. Number three, Pusha T, It's Almost Dry. Number four, Joey Badass, 2000. Number five, Soul Sold Separately, Freddie Gibbs. Number six, J.I.D., The Forever Story. Number seven, Nas, King's Disease 3. Number eight, Larry June, Spaceships on the Blade. Number nine, Kodak Black, Back for Everything. And number 10, Drake and 21 Savage, Her Loss. What are your thoughts on this albums list?
Well, the fact that he put Kendrick's album at number one makes this list totally awful, first of all.
Well, a lot of people said that our top 20, and I'll get to that in a second, was discredited because Kendrick's album wasn't on there.
No. That's what's giving it more credit, is that we're not doing what everybody else is doing because we can't be bought, and he can't pay for us to put him number one on the list. So that's how that goes.
He didn't deserve it.
He doesn't deserve it. He didn't make a top 20 album.
He didn't. That's
Definitely
okay.
didn't make a number one album.
Oh, no.
Like, at this point, well, it's like, well, you can just buy your way onto the top of this list.
You know
what it looks like. You can buy your way onto the top of this list if you want.
This Kendrick Damage Control is trouble.
Because you want to know it. Kendrick needs somebody saying that he has the best album this year.
Oh,
in the worst way.
I disagree with you.
I'm saying he needs it, like his ego, because he know this album is not any good. And y'all can try to stroke his ego all you want. This is a dud. The grapes are bad. You can't drink this wine. Why you keep trying to hand me these sour grapes and say that it's vintage wine? It don't taste that way. When I pop the cork looks cracked and it's crumbled and it's falling apart. When I smell the wine, I smell vinegar. When I sip it, it tastes raw. It does not taste good. It does not taste like it has been fermented nor aged properly. But you are trying to sell it to me like it is a 2003 Chateauneuf de Pape. It's not. It's not.
Leroy Green with the super chat says, Coop, you want to battle Mr. Morale on Station Head? That's cool. Let's go. Grammy music.
You want to know what? 444 is better than Mr. Morale. That's how bad Mr. Morale is.
I don't know if
I'll take 444 any day over Mr. Morale. I told you after I heard the album, like I said, I will never say another bad word about the replayability on To Pimp a Butterfly again, and I haven't.
I will say this. The pampering of Mr. Morale is troubling to me.
It's coddling. Is this, are we going to burp him too?
Yeah, because it's like, anybody who comes with a dud, at least historically that I remember in hip hop that was a main figure, they gave them the business. Now, I don't know if this is because of the 5-year break and they're just scared of the run being over altogether, but the coddling of this album, it makes me feel like Kendrick must not have much more left in the tank. That's what makes me feel like. Because it's like, why are they coddling this album so much? If he dropped a dud, he dropped a dud, and he'll come right back and come with another banger. You know what I mean? But the fact that this is being coddled so much, and he did the 5-year break, it's troubling to me.
It's not good. It's definitely not number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could add number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 together and add all those numbers together, and whatever that number would equal to, it wouldn't rank that high either. It's not a good album. It's bad.
It doesn't give me high hopes for his next effort. Because
what's the LL Cool J did, the Walking with a Panther with I'm That Type of Guy and all that?
Yeah.
That had I'm Going Back to Cali and Jingling Baby on it.
Yeah.
And that was considered a dud. You understand that? When people said LL fell off, he made Going Back to Cali and Jingling Baby.
Yep.
That was what falling off for him was. What the fuck is this, Mike?
He's got to come back. I mean, I don't think he's coming back for a couple of years.
Nas made Last Words on Nostradamus.
You're right. Come and get me too. Look.
Come and get me.
I don't think he's coming back for another 2-3 years, but he has to come back next year.
He needs to stay gone.
He needs to come back next year.
You can stay gone.
You gotta redeem yourself, Kendrick. And I know Kendrick. I don't know if there's people out here who watch this show who know Kendrick.
Pass, homie.
But this is what I'm gonna say, man. You one of the greats.
Sucks.
You done put together an incredible discography. You can do much better than this album. And regardless of the 8 Grammy nominations and regardless of the mainstream media putting this album at the top of the list and Charlamagne saying it's the most important hip-hop album ever, it's not all those things. And you know that as a hip-hop
Somebody
head.
just need to walk up
We
there and
need
tell
you
them
to
the
come
truth.
back with an album.
Like somebody just need to tell them the truth. It's like,
yeah.
Fam, the shit not good.
And we're not over here hating,
just
man.
Like that. Somebody just need to tell him. No. Somebody like a real MC need to tell him. Be like,
yeah.
Like, you know, he need to be. Somebody just, fam, the shit not good.
We're
like,
not hating. We want Kendrick to make the best music possible. And look, I told you offline. I probably said this the previous episode. Our brand is better when great music is coming out. And when somebody like a Kendrick Lamar makes something that we can talk about for weeks and weeks, that's great for us. We want Kendrick to make a great album. So forget the narratives out there, people saying we hating. We're not hating. We want Kendrick to make a great album. But I'm not going to sit here and lie and act like this album's something that it's not. And shout out to Justin Hunt. He went out there and, we were just talking about the Company Man. Was it last episode or episode before that? He retweeted our MC list. So maybe he's watching too. You understand,
Kingdom Come has lost ones.
Huh?
Kingdom Come has lost ones.
Kingdom Come has the song Kingdom Come. Crazy.
And the song Kingdom Come.
Jay Short with the super chat says, "Don't be fooled, Mike and Coop. These Lyrical Miracle fans trying to have this list full of Kendrick and Lupe verses. They don't care about relatability." Is verse of the year that song where Kendrick's screaming back and forth with his chick? Ain't nobody trying to listen to that, man. Come on,
Are you
man.
listening to the songs that I am naming when people made what is considered to be duds that they needed to come back from?
Yeah.
He made Jingling Baby and Going Back to Cali, and people told him he fell off.
What do you think is the best song on Mr. Morale?
There's not one.
Oh, come on, Coop. Now that's sounding crazy. It has to have a best song.
It's got to be the Kodak joint. It's Silent Hill because it's the only one that you can really play. But you're like, what's the record that I can play? You know what I mean? When the best record is like, what's the record that I can play? This shit's not any good. Like, if y'all need me to tell them, I'll tell them, fam, it's not any good.
N95, I think it's playable.
No, we need to stop. No, let's take him off the couch. Look, when the therapy appointment is over and you walk out the office, Coop will be sitting outside the office, be like, "Hey, how'd that go? Look here, nigga, it's not good."
36 Chambers says B-Dot should list his top 10 sponsors of the year. You know, I'm trying to go to a brunch next year, but I'm not gonna let that make me say that an album is great.
It's not good. Speaking of which, we need sponsors. Anybody looking to sponsor?
Yeah. Speaking of sponsors,
don't even get at us. B-Dot, if you know anybody looking to sponsor us, stay the fuck away.
Yeah, we need sponsors for this show.
It's ridiculous. Black Thought and Nas are like literally nowhere to be found. Did Cheat Codes make the album list? Put the album back. Did
Let
Cheat
me
Codes
put the
make the
album list back up. No, it did not.
Nigga smoking crack cocaine.
You know, the disrespect to Black Thought is wild because this is somebody, if we want to talk about Boulay, right? This is somebody who's in a group with Questlove, probably one of the king of the Boulays in hip hop, right? This man goes out here and is on Jimmy Fallon every single night, and he made cheat codes, and y'all shitting on him? That's crazy, man. Like, Black Thought is out here on Jimmy Fallon every single night, 5 days a week, right? And him and Danger Mouse made cheat codes, and he made this incredible, or spit this incredible verse on Frequency on Black Star's album, and he gets ignored? That is wild, man.
Well, you'd have to listen to the album.
How do you not listen to Black Thought? Like the disrespect of Black Thought's bar work and how, and out, you know, we talk about Nas or whatever, but even before Nas got on this run, we talk about how Black Thought has gotten better and better and better as the years go on. And this is somebody who keeps getting greater than he's ever been with age. He needs to be respected at the highest level. The highest level. And you can't say you don't know. And they can't come with the underground excuse anymore. These guys are on Jimmy Fallon every night. Come on, man.
It took Nas making a top 50 rap album, arguably. Like, that's how great Black Thought has been this year. And this is what I mean. This was the type of year that a Black Thought needed to have in that all-time discussion.
Oh, yeah.
He needed an album like this.
He needed a feature like Frequency.
Like, think about this. Think about this. For all the years that he's been in the game, when has he ever really had verse of the year, though? No,
exactly.
Like he really has it this year. When has he ever made a song like Aquamarine or No Gold Teeth before? These are important benchmarks for him, and the fact that you won't even like signify any of it, like
it's like why?
For Black Thought, you don't have a copy of Do You Want More or Illadelph or Things Fall Apart, Phrenology? Like you don't, you lying. You got one of them albums.
We understand why Nas gets shitted on by the media,
you be playing
right?
You Got Me sometime when niggas don't be around.
Of course. I mean, even when niggas is around, right? Like,
nah, he one of them dudes that just be playing it when the chicks is around, so he still seems like
so he can
cool.
kind of have the poetry slam vibe and all that. I mean, listen, we understand why Nas gets shitted on by mainstream media, right? You know, he's a rebel, and he's done a lot of things to go against the grain. But Black Thought, man, Black Thought's done everything right. He's done everything right. He's gotten greater with age. He actually is putting together really dope albums.
Drama-free, media-free.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Questlove is out here.
Very Boulay things. He runs with the right Boulay crowd that he should be getting notarized.
Exactly. Questlove's out here winning Oscars. This man's on Jimmy Fallon every night. Come on, man.
Like, you understand some of our black elites, like across America, who are like well-renowned in their field, like Maud Black Thought as an MC. He is their like poet laureate.
And you think that the rap work that 21 Savage is putting together in 2022 supersedes Black Thought's work in 2022? That's fucking insane and disrespectful. Let's just keep it a buck.
What does the 5 fingers say to the face,
man? The verse with the super chat says, only reason why people put Mr. Morale at number 1 is because COVID during the 2022 and all the mental health issues being a topic. But not valid point when it comes down to having actual good product. Yeah, I mean, you can't just sit here and say because this is what he was trying to do or the subject matter, this makes it better. Quality has to be there.
I literally had somebody tell me that he really thought that he was shifting the culture and the genre and the wave and that people were going to feel this. You don't got it like that. You were gone too long. This album is not good.
Mad Max with the super chat says, speak on it, Mike. I remember when Cole dropped For Your Eyes Only. He got cooked on IG and Twitter really until the feature run and the off with on the off season. My bad, I was seeing Scissor. In the off season, he has been earning his respect back. Yeah, man, Cole's killing it right now. The only thing Cole's missing is an album. And I think that, like I said, Cole's very observant. He's a Nas fan. And I think he's really been looking at what Nas has been putting together. He's probably looking at what Freddie's been putting together, what Black Thought's been putting together. He's a hip-hop head. He's a cannabis listener. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's taking note of these top-notch albums that have been coming out in 2022, and I think he's going to be reloaded and ready to go in 2023. Jay Short with Super Chat says, they are coddling Kendrick, Mike, because they can't manufacture any more superstars. They are trying with Kodak, but he can't cross over. I think that's a very, very valid point. I think that the Drake, Kendrick, and Cole class is the last class of, I don't want to say manufactured superstars, but gatekeeper superstars. And now you can't control the NBA young boys out there. Like, he's doing the numbers, but the industry doesn't have control over him. It seems. And they can't control the narrative with these cats either. So, yeah, I think they are probably coddling Kendrick because he's one of the last of the mainstream Mohicans, for lack of a better term.
Find a new king.
LP with the super chat says, if you can relate to morale, then you need therapy. Like, turn the music off now.
No, this is what I mean. Like mental health is real, and we spend a lot of times talking about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't mean share your sessions with us, fam.
And and if you're gonna do that, do it in a palatable way. I think that we talk about, like, if he was gonna make this a play, he could have made this a play between him and the psychologist having a discourse, and that would have been more entertaining than this shit. And it would have made sense too. You know what I'm saying? I think people would have got it and took it for what it was.
Tried to trick us with some cathartic bullshit is what he tried to do.
And also, this is what I want to say too. If that's what he wanted to do and that was his expression for the year and for his time off and all that, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that it has to be number one on everybody's list. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay if you make an album that was just for you, you put it out there, and it was for the people who related to it. But no one can be mad if it doesn't crack the top 10. Like, that's fine. Like, you made it. You didn't make it for that. You know what I'm saying?
Your album sucks.
Oh, man. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, the best song of Mr. Morale is N95, followed by the silence. Oh, the silence when the album finally ends. Wow.
When did this album come out? It came out in like April, right? Or March?
That came out May 13th, my birthday.
May? It came out on your birthday?
Yep.
That was shady that he did that. So it's been 7 months of talking about this album that ain't no good, Mike, and I'm just tired. The album's not any good. Your album sucks.
So he said the best song of Mr. Morale is N95, followed by the silence when the album finally ends. While I found a better record to listen to, album of the year, right? I do think Silent
For
Hill.
7 months, B-Dot, your list sucks. Kendrick, your album sucks. Both of you, try again. All of y'all, the God Did verse is just long. It's not that good. His better verse is Neck and Wrist. If you want to talk about Jay, talk about Neck and Wrist. Stop talking about God Did. You all that don't have Black Thought and Nas on all your lists, you don't know shit either. This is my end of the year wrap up. You're not any good.
Cool. Nobody's talking, and I say this respectfully, because Jay's one of my favorite rappers, right?
Your album's not any good.
And I don't want no smoke. But no one's talking about the God Did verse anymore. They're not. People are still talking about the...
what God did is make it go away. Thank God. Amen. Church.
People are talking about the Johnny P's Caddy
verse.
That
album Kendrick made ain't good, just in case people are wondering.
People are talking about the Johnny P's Caddy verse. People ain't talking about the God Did verse like that. Shit, people ain't talking about the Neck and Wrist verse like that either. Which I feel like it was kind of directed towards, some of the conversations that we've had. Because it was funny that Jay mentioned the commission. Nobody was talking about that but us, I feel like. But hey, whatever.
Don't nobody care about that either. He ain't dropping no album or spitting no bars like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Hey, man, you're right. CJ Kid with the super chat says, who do you guys got in the Knots versus Bink battle? Oh, it's coming up. Really?
The what?
The Knots versus Bink battle. They got a beat battle coming. I like it. Battle. I'm going with Bink off the top of my head. But hey.
Oh, no, Knots got some stuff too.
Knots got some shit. Too.
Yeah. Bink has. I think Bink probably has the more notable stuff though.
Yeah.
Mo Better, Jay and them Siegel and like all those placements and stuff.
Yeah. And Devil in a New Dress and stuff like that.
Does Bink do Devil in a New Dress?
He did.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him an advantage.
Yeah. Mo Better with the super chat says people need to take note from Crit and Vince Staples. They make songs that are not always happy, but keep you listening to it because they understand that the music is just as important as the lyrics. Yeah, it is. And I think that for some lyricists that people might have a hard time, grasping that. Like the guy I used to be in a rap group with, he focused so much on the actual raps where it was like it was more about that than the actual beat sometimes. It was like basically the mentality that I can make an average beat sound good with my raps. And I don't know if that's not a mentality to go on, really. I think Redman and Method Man did that on Blackout, and I love the album personally. But I think that they were so caught up in their individual rhyme greatness and their chemistry that the beats may have taken somewhat of a back seat.
They did, but they were still dope on there, and there were songs on there, the Rockwilders on there.
It's funny, unpopular opinion, and you know how much I love Blackout. It's one of my personal favorite rap albums that I would never put like on a top whatever list. It's my personal favorite. I always skip the Rockwilder.
Well, for those of us who don't, that's the other 99%.
The only song on the album I skip. Believe it or not.
I'm just saying that to say even when they're in their zone, they know how to make something that's palatable for the masses.
Oh no, you're right. No, they did it. That's the perfect single on there. They did it right. They were supposed to put that song out there. People love that song. But I guess for me, as a Redman and Method Man nerd fan, I don't really love that record that much. I think it's, again, the beats, man. I'm not a Rockwilder fan like that. Like the producer. I never really dug his style like that. I like Do It Again. I think that's one of my favorite Rockwilder joints, but that's because Jay went crazy on it.
So did Beans.
Yes.
Do you understand that people have been trying to convince us for 7 months that this album is good? Do you understand how crazy that is? For 7 months, people have been trying to convince us when all we do every week is pull up and listen to music constantly. Like we are in a constant cycle of listening to music, and people are trying to tell us that this album is good. And this is what I mean about how like you have to be honest with yourself. I'm going to say this again. I remember the first time I heard the song Nostradamus. It was at UNCG. It was freshman year. Grogan Hall, 3rd floor. My man Duran is in the back in his room playing Madden. I walk in the room. I was like, what's that? He's like, that's the new Nas. This shit hot. I listened to it for about 30 seconds. I said, that ain't it. I said, that is not it. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, that is not it. I walked the fuck out the room. And then I came back and I was like, and I was sitting there until Come and Get Me came on. I was looking like, I was like, what is this? It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I sat there till track 6, like this.
It's undeniable, man. It is. Like
you be knowing when something hitting, when something missed. This shit ain't hitting at all. This shit is not even close to Nostradamus. It's not even close to Nostradamus. Nostradamus got Come and Get Me and Shoot 'Em Up and Family and Last Words.
Well, let's rewind though.
They got the crappy Project Window beat instead of the real beat, but it's better than this shit. Your album's not good, fam.
Well, cool. Let's rewind because we are on the internet.
7 months I've been having to hear about this crappy album. Oh my God.
Cool,
the year is almost over. This album's good. No, it's not.
Cool. Let's rewind real quick because we do have the internet and we did do a show on May 13th and people could go back to that show and say that we said some favorable things about the album, which we did. Now, I think that the difference with this album is it's one of those albums that you listen to on first listen and be like, you know what, that was impressive. That was impressive. And the writing part of it, I think that was the biggest thing that we spoke on. The
writing's exquisite.
The writing is incredible. But it's one of those things where it's like, does that make it? Okay, yeah, we back on. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I think Kendrick cut us off of his internet. Because some of the songs that we were impressed the most by didn't have any replayability. They said we lagging. You there?
I'm here now.
Man, I think this cold weather might be fucking up my internet or something.